Drug addicts don't get addicted to drugs because they suck. They're fucking awesome.
This is Nicholas Campana, a.k.a. Goblin. And I'm going to try to not get demonetized here, so forgive me. But Goblin is the most famous street chemist on all of YouTube. I know he looks like a lesbian substitute teacher, but he is the authority on all things pharmacy. He has consumed basically every different type of jelly bean known to man. And today he's even going to tell us the story of how him and his friends Googled how to cook jelly beans and smoked them.
Bro, we just kind of screamed. Just like roughhousing and there's a torch right there. We could make crack right now.
We're not making crack in the tent, Nick. He even ranks all the jelly beans on Earth and tells us which ones are the best and which ones you should never, ever try. And he even explains his eventual journey to sobriety and how he lives a completely sober life today. Well, California sober.
It was crazy. When I first got in California sober, I remember thinking like, there's no way this is what it's like.
Do you think you have any permanent damage from the use?
Oh yeah, I'm kind of retarded.
Anyway, sit back, relax, and welcome to camp. I'm fascinated by you. You're a very interesting human being.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I found you, as we were just saying, through Dope as Yola, that podcast.
That's the homie right there.
It seems like a great dude. Never met him, but I just love the content. And the thing that blew my mind in one of your very first interviews with him, you had said that you cooked and smoked crack.
I did. Yep, when I was 17.
If you're listening at home and you're not watching, you should tune in right now and you should look at Nick right in the face, because you don't strike me as a crack smoker. You feel like a substitute teacher, you know what I mean? You don't have crack smoker energy.
I think that's throughout my life that's benefited me and helped me get away with a lot of shit I did when I was younger.
Yeah.
Because when I was when I was a teenager, I was a fucking menace.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago.
Okay.
So, I was just kind of hanging out. I didn't grow up in a bad area or anything. I had a pretty good upbringing.
Yeah, you weren't in a gang?
No, no.
Okay.
Absolutely
I'm shocked.
Not. I had a pretty good upbringing, and I don't know. I was just misbehaving. I just had it in me. There was no like.
That's a good rebellion.
Yeah,
crack.
Yeah. Oh,
crack. Yeah.
It is. You could do much worse than that. I could have really joined a gang.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. You got to tell your parents that. You tell them, be like, "Hey, mom and dad, I joined a gang," and they're like, "Oh my god!" And just be like, "Actually, I'm just doing crack."
Well, now that I'm chilling and this is kind of like my job a little bit. My mom's cool with it. But back in the day, it was bad.
Oh, I couldn't imagine.
Oh, it was rough.
And for anyone that doesn't know, you are, in my opinion, the preeminent drug YouTuber.
That's quite the accolade. I appreciate that.
Now you are a sober, California sober, if which means you do mushrooms, smoke weed, and probably drink.
Weed and liquor.
Yeah, it's all you need. Liquor. You don't do beer. Beer, that's too.
Yeah, beer. It takes too much to get me drunk. I'm a bigger dude, and I drink a lot of alcohol when I drink. So
yeah.
Beer's not doing.
So that's California sober. But in your past life, in your non-sobriety, you've tried just about everything.
Yeah, I think it would be more convenient to name drugs that I didn't try than I did. And the things that I avoided when I was younger is I didn't smoke meth, I didn't do heroin, and I didn't do bath salts.
Okay.
Pretty much everything else, like spice, K2, all the pills that you can name, the opiates, the benzos, coke. I smoked crack only one time though. Crack
you're not crazy. Yeah.
Honestly, I would be open to doing it again, but it would have to be cooked by someone who knows what the fuck they're doing. I'm gonna say that much. My shit was not very good.
So this is gonna be fun for me. We're gonna go through all the drugs you've tried, go through all the craziest stories, the times you've gotten arrested, all that shit.
Okay.
I'm also gonna share some of my secrets. Okay.
Oh,
I'll just be upfront with you right now. I smoked weed.
Oh shit.
A couple times. I don't smoke anymore because we'll get into that. I start thinking about planets and shit, and I just my brain starts to kind of freak out.
You get anxious?
Yeah, well, it's so weird because sometimes I smoke and I'm great, and I'm watching Arrested Development on the couch with my wife eating pizza, having the best time.
Okay.
There was I was playing with the cat for an hour, and then I looked down, the cat wasn't even there.
You're a cat guy?
I don't even have a cat. I was like, where did I even see it? No, I do have a cat.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. No,
I was about to say, that weed must have been fire.
Yeah, she was fire. I'll put you on. But no, yeah, we got a cat. It's a cool cat. She doesn't smoke. She's sober. But basically I was she's super down to earth, really responsible. But yeah, we had a good time. And then other times I'd smoke and I would just be on a different planet. I'd just be like, yo, where the am I? I would get freaked out. I'd be like, yo, I got to go home right now. I would be breathing air like it was water. I would just be like, And every breath I felt like amazing. And then I'd breathe out and I'd be like, oh no, I need that back. And then that would just be that for like 3 hours and I'd go to sleep. So not great. We can get into that. So
yeah, it sounds kind of shitty.
Don't do weed anymore. I've done Molly 3 times.
3?
Yeah.
Why
thrice.
only 3?
I did it basically once a year, and I was like, I don't want to fry my brain too much.
That's extremely responsible.
Yeah,
that's like
too responsible.
You're very responsible.
Yeah. So literally, it was once a year, and it was the best time ever.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was basically fine that week. Like I didn't really have like too bad of a side effect. Then the last time I did, I kind of disassociated a little for like a week, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna be off this for a while. I think I did too much or something. And then I've done shrooms like twice.
Okay.
And those are awesome. Those are awesome. So those are all my secrets. Okay?
So you just kind of dabble in things. Like
Yeah.
you haven't really gotten super into it. You just tried your little bit. And
Well, that's why you're here today.
That's enough.
So you can put me on. You know what I mean?
Oh, I got you.
So take me back to the crack story. How did you and your friends at 17 years old decide to cook and smoke crack?
Okay. So I guess to preface like the way that my drug use played out, is at the age of 17, I was doing pretty much everything under the sun, but that was a fairly recent development. My second semester of my junior year of high school, I got kicked out of the primary school that I was going to because my GPA was like disgustingly low. I had a 0.8 GPA.
Wow, that's hard to do.
So, yeah.
How do you do 0.8?
You have to fail more than you get D's in. And C's like can't exist. And that was my grade sheet.
But you're not dumb. So like, were you just intentionally not doing anything?
I didn't do any homework. I didn't do any like after school work. If I did a test I didn't feel like doing, I would just write like random shit for the answers,
And you just didn't care.
I really didn't care.
Did your parents care?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they cared a lot.
Can you share what they do? What their professions are, more or less?
My mom is it's actually extremely ironic. My mom is a counselor for adolescent drug addicts.
Bro.
And my dad is a paralegal at a law firm. So
2 things that you may have needed at one point.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
I could have used both their services.
Yeah.
My mom in particular, could have used her quite a bit.
Yeah,
could have used her services a lot.
And do you have siblings?
No, I'm an only child.
It's only child.
Only kid in the house.
You're their one shot.
Mm-hmm. I was all they had.
And by like 13, 14, like when do you smoke weed for the first time?
I was 14.
And you immediately were like, oh, this is the best.
Immediately I loved it, but I didn't start smoking every day and really like living like that for a little bit. It took a while for me to really get into that lifestyle.
So then how do you go in 3 years to smoking crack?
So once I got kicked out of my main school, up until that point, I'd only smoked weed. I tried Xanax once. It was a very tame lifestyle I've been doing. I'd taken some cold meds and gotten high off those a couple times. And then I went to this new school and everyone there was a drug addict. And not like, oh, they party on the weekends. Like these kids are overdosing in the bathroom stalls and shit. So there was like a 2-month period at my alternative school. And mind you, the whole population of the school was like 95 kids. So it's not like this is a big school. But there was like a 2-month period where every week the ambulance was coming and someone was getting wheeled out of that school because they were passing out off whatever drug they were on. And usually it was Xanax.
And this is a good school, I imagine?
It was in a good district.
Is it private school?
No, all public.
Okay.
But like it was in a good school district and in a school district that wasn't really like known for this kind of stuff.
And why was this like drug use so rampant at this high school?
So all of my theory is it's a way that my school district padded their like graduation rates. But essentially what they do is they take all the bad kids, all the drug addict kids and just cram them into this one school. And in this school, there was like no homework and no possible way to fail. Like I didn't do shit and I still passed.
Gotcha.
So it was a way for them to kind of like pad the stats a little bit.
So they take all the kids that are kind of struggling on the periphery of all these other schools that might not graduate, jam them into this school and then lower the requirements so that everyone graduates.
Yes.
Hilarious. Yeah. So now you have all the most troubled youth.
Yeah, and there I am with all of them.
And now, are they doing other things other than drugs? There's like crime and fights.
Oh yeah,
and shit? Okay.
yeah. A lot of these kids have ankle monitors and shit.
No way.
Like, yeah, they're one of my best friends back then, Ashton. He was on parole for Grand Theft Auto. So he stole a car in his freshman year of high school. This kid's like 14. He stole a car, drove it around, got caught, got put on an ankle monitor, and like. he's that young. He's 14 years old.
Doing hood rat shit with his friends.
Yeah, doing hood rat shit with his friends, exactly. So it was like, imagine a school full of 90 of that kid.
Wow.
You know, it was chaos in there.
So then whatever problems you had just got way worse.
100%. Yeah, I had access to like way better drugs, a whole array of new people that I'd never met before, and it was like all the drug dealers and criminals concentrated right next to me in all my classes.
Oh, this is perfect.
It was awesome. I'm not gonna lie. I only lasted one semester at this school because I got pulled out after and I dropped out of high school. But that one semester, I went from like your average delinquent kid to full blown drug addict, doing everything under the sun.
Oh wow.
It was bad. And that was the first time that I got sent to rehab as well. At the end of that year, I got sent to rehab in between like the end of that year in the summer.
And what was your substance of choice at that time?
See, the weird thing about my drug addiction is I never really had like one substance of choice. It was always just whatever I could get.
Yeah.
So it was like, if it was Xanax, we're doing Xanax. If it was Hydros, we're popping fucking Hydros.
Wow.
You know, we're doing whatever we could get.
That's wild. So you didn't mind the high from one to the other. You just wanted to be blasting off somewhere.
Yeah, I definitely had preferences. You know, like overall, psychedelics were my shit back then. I didn't like cocaine and uppers when I was younger. I did when I was older, though. Like, once I grew up a little bit, I started to appreciate that. But when I was younger, it was all about the downers. It was all, like, Xanax, you know, if I could get, like, some, I don't know, something that combined with alcohol well, because that was cheap.
Oh, so when was the first time you did a Xan?
It was my first semester, my junior year. I remember it very well, actually. I was with my homie named Bob, and I'd gotten picked up by him, and we went over to this girl named Danielle's house, and we had a nickname for her. We used to call her Zanielle, because, like, she was just an animal. And I don't know, like, if you know a lot of people who enjoy Xanax, but white women enjoy it the most.
Yeah.
Like, they love it, bro. And they have a tolerance like no other. Like, normal people take like 2 Xans, they're out like an elephant, dude. Like, they're completely down. It's like they've been tranquilized, right? The proper white woman, and like high class white woman too. I'm not talking like white trash.
No, like
or
a standard issue.
I'm talking
white.
like not even standard issue. Like, we're talking like Kylie Jenner type white woman, right? Higher class type white woman. They can eat them and never stop.
Skittles.
It's crazy. Yes, they can eat them and never stop. So we go over to Zanielle's house. And my buddy Bob is telling me, he's like, "Yo, have you ever tried Xans?" And I'm like, "No, like, what's it like? Tell me about it." And I'd never really gotten high off a pill before. At that point, I'd like messed with cough medicine a little bit, and I'd smoked weed.
Like hard walk and shit? Or like walk
Delsim.
Okay.
Delsim. So no, not that. And lean's a whole different story. I was too broke for that shit.
Okay.
But no, I wasn't a rapper or anything.
If you're like me, you probably read a news story and you're like, this is crazy. What is the truth about this? Is this a partisan spin? Is this funded by some media company or some country by their state-sponsored media to try to warp my brain? I genuinely read news articles now with so much skepticism because I have no idea if this is from the right or the left and what the agenda is and why it's being presented in front of me. And that is why I follow and support Ground News. That's right. So even before I started working with this company on the podcast, I've been following them on Instagram because I just thought they gave a very, very great, unbiased, nonpartisan approach to media. It's awesome. Basically, you're going to get a headline and they will show you sort of the different media splits as it comes to understanding the story. They will compare the reporting from different outlets across the political spectrum in one place to show you how the framing and word choice can affect our understanding of a story. I mean, here's a story that my mom sent me from a couple months ago. Robberies, assaults surge in Central Park, leaving New Yorkers and NYC tourists terrified. What is the purpose of this story? Who is writing it? Where is it coming from? Now I can go to Ground News, read this headline, and be able to make an assessment as to whether or not this is predominantly being reported by the right wing or by the left wing, and make some type of deduction like, oh, this is actually being used, you know, as some sort of political apparatus. So if you're like me, if you're a truth seeker, if you're trying to find unbiased news, I would absolutely recommend Ground News. It is completely independent, nonpartisan, subscriber funded. It allows readers to think critically about the world around them, and it doesn't tell them what to think, but instead lets them think for themselves. And ultimately, it avoids misinformation and tries to heal polarization within our country, which I think is absolutely amazing. So don't let misinformation and sensationalism influence how you think, and more importantly, how you vote. This election is massive and obviously very important. So Try to let your brain be unfettered by the bias of media. Save a massive 40% on Ground News' top tier Vantage plan with my link, ground.news/Gagnon, Gagnon, or scan my QR code right here, or go to the description and click on the link. This unlocks access to all of their news analysis features, something that I think is, I don't know, super important to have. Yeah, make decisions based on facts, not spin this November. Check them out. Let's get back to the show. What's up, guys? We're going to take a break really quick because it's 2024. And it's time to talk about something important. When you are seriously hurt, your injury could be worth millions. Yes, that's right. The world is a crazy place, and one person's negligence can result in another's settlement. And that's why I got to talk to you about Morgan & Morgan. Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. They have over 100 offices nationwide and over 1,000 lawyers. Yes, these are the big boys. You know them, you see their billboards all over the world. If you ever drove down I-90 from Florida to New York, I'm telling you, you've seen the billboards, all right? Have you ever watched a UFC fight? You've seen them right on the banner. I'm telling you, these are the biggest guys in the game, all right? With over $20 billion recovered for over 500,000 clients, Morgan & Morgan has a proven track record of fighting to get you full and fair compensation. The annoying thing with most attorneys is that in order to submit a claim, you got to call them up, you got to talk to their people, you got to go back and forth on emails, you got to hope that they see it. They might charge you just to even look at their claim. Here's the cool thing with Morgan & Morgan. With 8 clicks or less, you can submit a claim and one of their licensed attorneys will take a look at it and get back to you. It's that easy. It's like ordering something off Amazon. It's just a couple clicks. You can submit your claim very easily and cheap. Yeah, how about $0? That's how much it costs to submit a claim with Morgan & Morgan. Extremely easy, no fee required. So if you are ever injured, you can go check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless they win. That's right, unless they win for you. Unless they fight and get you compensation, you're not paying a single dollar. That's a pretty good deal. So for more information, go to forthepeople.com/Gagnon. That's correct, forthepeople.com/Gagnon, or dial pound law, that's pound 529 from your cell phone. That's for the people, forthepeople.com/Gagnon, or dial pound law, pound 529 from your cell phone. This is a paid advertisement. Now let's get back to the show after this short disclaimer.
But we went over to this girl's house, and she had like 2 Xans left, and she sold us one of them for like, I don't remember how much, but I know it was an exorbitant amount of money. Like it was too much.
Businesswoman.
Yeah, good. And she came up. She probably went, bought 3 more. Good for her. She was living, right? But we got our bars, and we dip out of Zaniel's, and we go over to my other friend's house. And we used to go to my buddy Cody's house and just sit in his garage and just get high. And his mom would be there, but she was cool with it because she'd always say, like, well, it's better if you guys get high here than if you go out and do it on the streets, you know? So you might as well come get high here. So we always go over to his house and just get fucked up in his garage on like whatever we wanted. His mom would like bring us drinks and shit. You
She
know?
was like cool with it.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
She was super cool with it.
We had like the alcohol moms in my town where it'd be like, yeah, you can drink in the house.
Oh yeah,
but
the alcohol
never,
moms were
never like, yo, bar drop in the garage.
Oh yeah, we had the bar moms. I mean, we were doing cocaine in that garage.
And she knew.
Yeah, she knew all of it.
She ever took a bump?
No, but she would just be out there smoking cigarettes and like watching. You know, like she knew what was up. Yeah. You know, if you could tell if it was 20 years prior, she's tapped in.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy, bro. So you guys split a bar or what happened?
So we got over to my buddy's house, and I popped the first one, and I guess my buddy had like a few more or whatever. I don't remember how many we grabbed off her, but either way, I popped my first one, and I'd never taken Xans before. I had no tolerance. I didn't know what to expect. So we start drinking. We had some liquor too, and we're like, yo, like, let's pop the bottle. At this point, alcohol was my favorite thing ever. You know, I had just started drinking. So it was like, bottle of Jack Daniels was luxury to me at that point. Give me that shit. I didn't realize the interaction that Xanax and alcohol have. I didn't understand that combining those knocks you the fuck out. So like, if you just take one Xan, you're going to feel a little stupid, but like you'll still be upright and like functional, and like I'd still be able to have this conversation. If I pop a Xan and then I took like 3 shots of Jack, yo, I'm face down on this table. Like I'm out, right? So I learned that through experience. I learned that through drinking alcohol there, and then going to the bathroom because I felt really nauseous, and I ended up just sitting in my homie's bathtub and like not turning the water on or anything, just sitting in that bitch. And I just passed out. And I was just laying in the bathtub, and eventually one of my homies came, and he's banging on the door, and he opens that shit, and he comes in, and he just starts laughing his ass off. And I used to have the video. I wish I still did. But he just started, like, taking videos of me and, like, posting them on Snapchat.
Just butt ass? Like,
I wasn't naked. No, I was still clothed. Just, like, sitting in his dry bathtub. Like, I was just chilling in there, you know? It was just the comfiest place at the time, you know? It made me feel better.
Isn't there a couch? There's probably a couch, right?
For sure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if I just walked out of that bathroom, there was a couch.
A way better situation.
But like, I just couldn't think that far ahead.
Yeah.
You know, I needed immediate relief, and the bathtub was it.
And that's a hole that you can lay in.
Yeah,
and
just a hole. Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of, you know, when you think about it, it's kind of like a couch. You know,
it's a good point.
Like
actually.
You've got armrests on the side.
Yeah, that's true.
There's an indent for you to sit in, and it fits your whole body.
That's a good point. It's
like couch does all those things too.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's actually it's basically a couch minus like a tiny bit of cushion.
Yeah, and fuck that shit. Dude.
Yeah,
grow
right.
up.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. If you're gonna pass out on a couch, stop being a pussy about it. You know what I mean?
Come on. You know, you can't be picky.
So you woke up the next morning and you were like, sick.
No, I didn't wake up the next morning. I got woken up by my friends coming in and like shaking me and being like, "Yo, like, what the fuck you doing?" And then taking Snapchats of me and shit. So they came in and woke me up, and like I just couldn't get up. Like I just didn't want to get up. I was like conscious, and I knew that they were trying to get me up, but I was like, I don't wanna. You know, this is nice. And that's the thing with Xanax, like it just kind of makes you like, for lack of a better word, it just makes you retarded, honestly. Like it really does, you know? It completely fries you. So eventually I got up and I went back outside and we started smoking. We smoked a couple blunts, and luckily the weed is like, it's perfect. You know, the interaction with weed and Xanax is wonderful. It doesn't fuck you up any further. So we smoked a couple blunts and I was like, yo, like, I'm good. I don't want any more. You know, like I'm good on this. Cause mind you, I had drove over there. Like I was the DD for my homie, and now both my homies are more fucked up than me.
Yeah, you're the drunk driver. You know? That's the DD.
Yeah. And I mean, I drove intoxicated all the time when I was younger. Unfortunately, you know, I drove on acid, I drove on Molly, I drove on shrooms, I drove on like everything under the sun. And like, granted, I mean, I'm open about that. I feel like a lot of people lie about it. A lot of people say, "Oh, I never drove intoxicated." It's like, no, you did. Like
you had another beer.
You're just lying.
Didn't
like
need
you're
to
just
have.
kind of being a hoe about it, and that's okay. But no, I'm very open about that.
And it was fine. You didn't hurt anyone. You never.
I
got
didn't
pulled
hurt
over,
anyone while I was intoxicated.
There you
go. I did. I do have a DUI. I did crash into a tree.
Okay, we'll get to that. That's
just me.
Yeah,
that only hurt me. So.
That's wild. So what happened the rest of the night?
The rest of the night, I mean, I just kind of like smoked it off. You know, it wasn't really that intense of an experience for me because the liquor just like completely knocked me the fuck out. It went from like actually being barred out to like, oh, I just slept in his bathtub for like 2.5 hours.
Gotcha.
You know?
So then you were chilling.
After that, yeah, I had a much better night for the rest of the night. But
and then
it was like,
when does like cocaine come into the mix?
So cocaine was something that when I was in high school, I dabbled in a little bit, but I couldn't afford it consistently. That shit was always like $100 a gram for the good shit. Yeah. So, and mind you, we're also like the white suburban kids. So it was $100 a gram all day. Yeah. So, you know, it was just like out of reach. And it was something that like I didn't enjoy when I was younger because I wanted to feel stupid when I was getting high. And then as I got older, I remember specifically, it was like 2019. It was like beginning of the summer. It was May or so. And I had just gone through a breakup. I broke up with this girl I was dating at the time. And I was like, yo, I need some new drugs in my life. And I linked up with that girl, Zanielle, I was telling you about, actually. And at that point, she was no longer doing Xan. She was doing Coke. And she's like, yo, I have a fucking guy you need to meet. And it's a guy who'd been serving her rocks. So I'm like, yo, introduce me to this guy. So we had a couple like, you know, middleman deals where I pulled up to a Walgreens parking lot and she jumped out and, you know, took my money and bought the blow. And then after like 2 or 3 times of doing that, finally she was like, hey, like, you should just go get in his car, you know? So I was like, oh shit, this is it. Like I'm meeting the plug, you know? And I was so excited because I was such a little fucking cokehead. I was calling this girl every day with like $200 and being like, yo, get me a fucking bag. Like, meet me wherever. Like, I'll buy you some, you know.
Fiending. Wow.
It was immediate, you know, because it was like, at that point I had more going on and more to be responsible about, you know. So I needed those drugs that made me clear-headed and made me level and more focused. And that's kind of what pulled me into coke at that point in my life.
Gotcha.
Because I was like, at least I thought to myself, like, I thought I was being more productive when I was doing it. So, you know, I started hitting this girl up every day, and finally I meet the plug. And what actually helped me quit is this guy went to jail for like a very long time, not for selling coke, for doing some very terrible shit and beating up his kids.
What the fuck?
But he had like a psychotic break and did it. It wasn't like he was just doing that on the regular. He took some, like, the rumor is he took like a shroom bar. No one really knows, but he took something that made him have a psychotic break, and he beat his kid into like a vegetative state, and then went to jail for that. And after that, I was like, okay, I'm quitting.
That was the moment.
Yeah. After he went to jail, I was like, well, he's never getting out. I'm done.
Wow.
I'm fucking done.
So maybe it was good then. Getting him off the street cleaned you up. You were like, I'm off.
They locked his ass up, and it helped me out a lot because it was like impossible for me to quit. I couldn't. I kept trying. Different ways to quit, and it got to the point where cocaine stopped being fun, and I stopped getting like the enjoyment and the euphoria out of it, and like I just kept doing it, and I'd never done that with a drug before. Normally, like any other substance I did, whether it was Xanax or it was like an opiate or, you know, psychedelics or whatever it was, I'd always do it until I stopped having fun, and then I go do something else.
Right.
Cocaine, I did it until I stopped having fun, and then I continued doing it after I stopped having fun. And then every time I did it, I would get so high I'd get scared because I was having heart palpitations and my heart was fucking thumping, and I thought I was going to pass out and like have a heart attack. And I was like, yo, why do I keep doing this? And then I'd come down and I'd be like, oh, that's why I keep doing this, because I'd be fucking fiending.
Wow.
So,
did you have withdrawals from it?
Honestly, it was a lot of mental withdrawals. It was really, really difficult mental withdrawals, but I didn't have like physical withdrawals really. I was super fucking irritable though. Honestly, weed saved my ass. Like, if it wasn't for smoking disgusting amounts of weed all day when I first quit, there's no chance in hell I could have done it.
Wow. So it's a gateway drug, but it's also a gate out drug.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
It's a gateway to sobriety and a gateway from sobriety as well, however you want to use it.
Wow. And so then at this time you do shrooms, I'm sure.
Yeah, I started tapping in with shrooms a lot more when I quit coke.
Gotcha.
When I quit doing harder stuff, I don't even know how to describe it, but I would have shroom trips where like I would just like come out of it and just be like, damn, I wish I was a better person. You know? And like I'd just be sitting there thinking so critically about myself and like the things I'd be doing in my life. And that's something that I never do otherwise.
Yeah.
You know, but shrooms make me do that. So like I had a couple shroom trips that really helped me along that, you know, and now I'm clean. I don't do the coke.
Wow. And the shrooms helped in a way?
I'd say so. Definitely probably 90% weed, 5% shrooms, and probably 5% like a combination of video games, probably jacking off more often. You have to, dude. You have to. And like going out to eat more. You gotta fill up your time. You know, like get you got the dopamine somehow.
Get the hits some other way. You know,
bro.
What I mean?
So I had reached a point at one point in my addiction where I was mixing the Molly with the Coke, and I was doing lines of those together. So I like completely fried my serotonin in my brain. So I once I had like stopped doing Coke, I really struggled with like feeling normal like enjoyment out of things and like emotions, you know, because everything felt very monotone, you know. It felt almost like my whole life was like black and white. Whoa. After I quit for a while. So it's like it takes a long time for your brain to reset.
Yeah.
After all.
And that's like a scary time to be in, I'm sure, because you're like, man, you know what would get me out of this? Some Coke.
Dude,
you know
just one like, little bumski and just fucking safe.
And you can just do a little and then it'll edge it off. But then you do a little and you're like, well, I got the rest of this bad.
Yeah. And it's tough because like, you know, even to this day, like I don't fiend and sit here and just like salivate over the thought of it, but the thought crosses my mind every day of like, fuck, just a fat ass line would be so great right now.
I don't want to make you
Crosses
fucking
my
relapse
mind.
in this tent right now.
No,
bro.
no. Trust me. Like, I've dealt with this a million times, far worse than anything right now, right?
Okay.
I'm more than willing to talk about it.
Okay.
But it's something that you just got to deal with every day. It's like, damn, cocaine would be awesome right now.
Yeah.
Can't do that. You know? Can't act on that.
So then how do you decide to do crack? I'm sure this is kind of around the period.
So I had gotten out of school, and this was in high school, my junior year. I was 17. I gotten out of school, and I got a ride home from this girl named Peyton. And she drove me and my buddy Ashton back to my mom's house. And my mom worked 5 nights a week until 8:30. That was her schedule every single night. So pretty much every night, my homies would come over to my place. We'd get high till like 7:30, 7:45. Then I'd kick everyone out and turn all the fans on and point them at the windows to blow all the smoke out. And then hope that my mom wouldn't smell it when she came home.
You smoked in the house?
Yeah.
And she never noticed?
She was so pissed all the time. She noticed every day. It was just whether or not she would act on it. And my dumbass thought I was getting away with it. Like, on the days that she wouldn't act on it, we had this whole conversation about this. Yeah, as, once I got older and got the fuck out of her house, she told me, she was like, I knew what you were doing every day. And I was like, really? Like, I thought I got away some days. And she was like, fuck no. But it was really just whether or not she wanted to act on it, because I was just the most stubborn fucking asshole of a kid. And so I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to, smoke a little closer to the window today. She probably won't smell it.
That's crazy. That shit stinks, bro. I'm sure the shit you were smoking too was not, a little Reggie fucking dirt weed. This was
we smoked some Reggie for sure. Okay. Yeah, we smoked Reggie back then. I don't think I started smoking good weed until like, I didn't really start to get serious about smoking good weed until I got sober from like coke and all the hard shit.
Yeah.
Because for me, weed was more of like, I wanted the most bang for my buck. I wanted the Costco wholesale ass weed, the fucking cheapest I could get.
Yeah.
So I could spend the money on the good drugs, the coke, the other shit. Weed was just like a supplement.
So you're ripping in your house until 7:45, responsibly, very punctual, which is something I gave you a compliment for earlier. You got here exactly on time.
Dude, I'm very punctual with time.
So 7:45 rolls around, you're like, yo, fan up,
get out. Yep, we got to get the fuck up out.
So everyone leaves.
So before that, though, the smoking crack part. So everyone did leave at 7:45 that night. Smoking crack, you'd probably imagine that this is like a really like, a big commitment of time, right? You're probably imagining like going from not knowing anything and not having crack to cooking it and smoking it probably takes a while, right?
Yeah.
It was like maybe an hour and a half. Like the entire process. So we got dropped off by this girl who drove me and my buddy back to my place. Called another friend of mine named Kyle, and I was like, hey, you should come over. Like, let's sesh or something. Let's figure out what we're going to do. So he walks over to my house. He lived like a couple blocks over. It's the three of us chilling out in there. My buddy had brought a big bag of blow over because he was the plug at that point. So not the plug as in he had like bricks or anything, but high school standards.
Yeah.
This guy had more than 2 grams of coke. So
whoa.
That's the fucking plug, So we're sitting there and we're like, we're kind of bored of this shit, Like we'd been doing these casual bumps after school and like in the stall during lunch, like every day. And we were just kind of bored of it, but we didn't have any other drugs on us. We didn't have anything but coke and a little bit of weed. So it was like, fuck, what do we do, Let's fucking cook crack. And it started off as a joke. Like, one of my buddy Ashton, he threw it out. He's like, we should cook crack. And it was like, haha, like, yeah, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? And then it's like, that would be kind of awesome.
Bro.
Wouldn't it? And we kind of like, just kind of joked about it a little more. Like, damn, I wonder how easy it would be. We're all like talking about it. And then we realized like, we should look it up. Like we should Google it. So we did. And we found, I'm pretty sure it was on Erowid. It was on one of the like big drug forums from back then. You literally could just Google like how to cook crack. And there was just a tutorial. There was like a 1.5-minute long video of how to make a personal serving of crack in a spoon. So you don't need like a pot or anything. It's just if you want to make enough to pack one bowl and smoke it, you can do that with nothing but a spoon and a lighter, some baking soda, some water, and your Coke. And that's it.
What the fuck?
So it's super easy. Like technically, I mean, there's a torch right there. We could make crack right now.
We're not making crack in the tent, Nick. We're not making crack.
My bad.
We're not fucking making. Dude, I'm trying to get off crack. Okay, we're not.
Bad.
We can't smoke crack in the tent.
I'm sorry, dog. I'm sorry, dog. I'm I'm a bad influence.
You're bad. My mom's gonna be pissed when she hears
I'm a really bad influence, bro. Fuck. But either way, So we followed the tutorial to a T, you know, and after you cook up what you got to cook up in the spoon, I'm not going to get you age restricted, so I'm not going to get too detailed. You got to put it on tinfoil and freeze it, and you got to let it sit for a little bit because then it solidifies and then it turns into the rock that you can smoke. So we make our little mixture, you know, we pour it on the tinfoil, we throw it in the freezer, and then we realize like we don't have a crack pipe. So, like, how do we smoke crack? So we pulled out some tinfoil and we made a little tinfoil crack bowl, and then we smoked it out of that. So my buddy Ashton went first because it was his Coke, and then I went second, and my buddy Kyle went third. And the way that I describe it is like, imagine you never tried Coke, have you?
No.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
Yeah, we got to really
I'm so used to describing it to drug users. Okay. All right. You ever take an Adderall?
I did half an Adderall one time.
It's kind of close.
Yeah.
It's like imagine you took like quadruple the dose of Adderall you anticipated, except it was all really fast acting and lasted 2 minutes instead of like hours.
Whoa.
So like imagine the full effect of that Adderall that's normally spanning over hours is just like all condensed into this 2-minute time frame. So, like, I'm talking 2 minutes from come up, peak, all the way come down. Like, it doesn't last any time at all. And granted, we probably cooked trash-ass crack. So, like, maybe if you got that good-ass rock, it's lasting longer. But our shit sucked, and it didn't last very long.
And so what did you guys do for 2 minutes in the kitchen smoking crack?
Bro, we just kind of screamed. And, like, I remember I looked at my homie Kyle, and we just kind of yelled at each other. And I punched my mom's cabinet. Like, there was, like, this cabinet, and we started body boxing. And we just started fucking hitting each other in the body and shit, and just fucking around. We were like, yo, like, let's fucking go. Just, like, roughhousing and shit, you know? And then after that, we kind of come down a little bit. And we went downstairs and we're like, yo, we should go to McDonald's. Like, we should pop out, do some shit. Let's get active. Yeah. So we went and hopped in the car and just fucking drove off. Like, we went and hopped in my mom's little Honda CRV and just cruised on off.
Did you clean up? Did you clean up the crime of the scene? Scene of the crime?
Kind of. Not real, not well enough. My mom found the remnants and shit.
She came home and was like, oh, they're cooking crack in my kitchen?
She found the spoon.
What the fuck?
So, by this point, my mom was so done that, like, this didn't faze her, really.
That's crazy.
Like, I was such a... And I've repented for this. Like, I've definitely, over the years, I've been like, yo, listen, Mom, like, let me take you on a little trip or something.
Yeah, she needs a house, bro. She needs a house.
Yeah, working on that. But... yeah, by that point, when she had found it, I remember I was really expecting, like, I thought, like, wow, this is it. Like, the crack spoon, this is it. You know, it's over. Yeah. Mom's throwing me out.
Sent off
like,
to some
my shit's on fire.
Pasture somewhere.
Yeah, I'm gone, right? And she didn't do shit. Like, I didn't get grounded. I didn't get, like, in direct trouble from that incident or anything.
Was there a conversation? Was there, like, a sit down?
No, not really. There was like a more of a passing, like, she would do this kind of passive aggressive shit. So she'd like put the spoon on the counter, like dry it off, you know, like on a paper towel. Like, I'd be going to the kitchen to like get a glass of water, and I'd see that and I'd be like, oh, crack spoon.
But then nothing would happen.
Yeah, no, she wouldn't do it.
And you went to school the next day, and you're like, man, that was crazy.
That's how both of my parents were. My parents were divorced, so they parented like separately, but very similarly. They were both very passive aggressive. So I got away with a lot of shit that way.
Whoa, that's crazy. And this might be a great way to start off the drug tier list.
Okay.
So I think now that we've kind of put some things on the table. So you do these every year. I think they're awesome. They're like
annual list.
They're so interesting. The annual list. Does it change much year to year?
Yeah, it does, honestly, because if I'm being real, the list is made entirely off vibes. I don't have like a formula. There's not like a official ranking system. Sometimes I contradict myself on that shit. It's just vibes. You know?
I mean, let's start with some of these vibes. Where did like crack? Where does that rank? Would you recommend
Crack's pretty low because like it's a bad combination. It's like the worst traits of your favorite drugs, right? So like the worst things about coke, the fact that it's short acting, make that 10 times shorter. You got crack, right? It's still expensive because the main ingredient in crack is still cocaine, right? So if you want good crack, that shit's tax, right? Crack is shitty. Crack's like Probably D tier.
So what's the benefit? Why does anyone do crack?
That's kind of a good question. I've wondered, like, where do crackheads come from? Like, how do you get in that cycle? It's got to be like...
Because I'm assuming you're probably just buying straight up crack. But is it easier, like, can you cook more? Like, can you get more bang for your buck if you, like, cook it over a larger thing or some shit?
I mean, crackheads, like... I don't know. I mean, there's no way that the chef is passing those savings along to the customer either way, though, you know? So,
yeah,
like,
right? But I'm assuming, like, I don't know, if you're a dealer, you can maybe make more or some shit. I don't know. There's got to be a reason.
There's got to be some good industrial, like, crack machinery at this point. There's no way they're still on the stove.
Yeah, there's no way, right? Like, it's got to be outsourced. I don't know. They must be, like drop shipped or something. There's got to be some type of operation, right? I don't know.
You think, like, I mean, is crack popular, like, anywhere anymore? Like, where are the crackheads?
I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. It's more of like a term people use, right? Like, you'll see someone tweaking, and you're like, oh, it's a crackhead. But you don't even know what that is. He might be like, yo, that's offensive. I don't do crack. I'm on PCP.
Damn, you know you gotta be mindful of that.
Yeah, right? Like, you don't want to mislabel a crackhead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't do fucking crack. I do meth.
Yeah, I'm stealing this TV for meth. Like, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I'm curious, did it explain crackhead behavior? You punched a cabinet. Did it do damage?
I mean,
did you dent the cabinet?
Not like noticeably, really. It wasn't like crazy. Okay. You know, it was. I mean, that would have probably riled up my mom more than the crack itself.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because crack is just affecting you. Don't mess up the decor.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. You know, and like when my mom went to resell that little condo, you know, it's not like she had to disclose that crack was cooked in there. You know,
that's not on any.
Normally, they have to like condemn the property when that happens. So.
Only if it burns it down or some shit.
Well, I mean, think about it. If there's like a crack lab in a house, you know, like
you didn't have a lab. Come on now. You didn't have a lab.
I know.
Yeah, you were trying to gas it up. You were trying to take more credit. Okay, you guys
You're
were
not
just
wrong.
You guys were a mom and pop crack operation. Okay,
yeah.
This was not
small batch. Small batch.
Yeah, it was boutique.
Family owned.
It was boutique. That's what it was. So okay, crack ranks pretty low. Cocaine, I'm assuming it was a little higher.
Cocaine is a tough one because like my personal ranking is much higher than like my logical ranking. You know, my reasonable self says the highest you should ever put it is B tier because it's expensive as fuck and it doesn't last very long. And being addicted to it sucks a lot worse than being addicted to some other drugs.
Yeah.
And I hated the nosebleeds. The nosebleeds were probably the worst part. So
yeah, can't you like collapse your nose or some shit?
Dude, so my nose is still very like loose, you know? Like my shit really, yeah, you see? My nose really is fucking, I can fold it up and shit. Just like very casually.
What's in there? Just
loose cartilage.
That's crazy.
From a lot of cocaine.
Why does it do? That's crazy, bro.
Yeah, you see that? Look, Can
you look that way into it? Bro, that's wild,
whole
bro.
Nose and it doesn't really hurt. I don't really feel it.
You'd be a good boxer.
I know. I could get rocked right here.
Yeah.
Like, this is just padding.
Yeah. You would bounce back from that. Like, immediately. You'd feel good. You'd be like, oh, you'd probably loosen up some coke in there. You'd be like, oh, I feel great.
Get a little leftover bump. Yeah. Fucking some marinating
spinal
in there.
tap shit, dude. You got some leftovers.
But deep down, the passionate part of me says that coke is probably like top of A tier. You know, I love it. I'm never going to sit here like drug addicts don't get addicted to drugs because they suck. You know, they're fucking awesome.
Did you ever get in trouble when you were doing some booger sugar?
Like legal trouble or like?
It's like getting into shenanigans.
I got into more shenanigans on Xanax than I ever did on blow.
Okay, so where does Xanax rank?
Oh, God, I love this little fox, dude. I love him. But like I hate him because I love him.
Yeah.
That like, honest to God, probably also D tier because like they're like the sleeper hit. It's like you don't even realize how bad a Xanax addiction is until it's like way too late. Because Xanax, the withdrawals from this shit are bad. You can have seizures if you just cold turkey. So like you have to wean yourself off really slowly, and like that's a difficult thing to do because if you're weaning yourself off and you're still taking it every day, it's a matter of just like grabbing another one and popping it because you still have it right there.
Yeah.
So it's hard to quit.
That's gonna put it low. That's a con. I would
D
say.
for sure. Because also, you know, now that I'm a little older, I like clear-headed drugs.
Yeah.
I like drugs that I can still think. And Xanax just makes me so stupid.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yo, curveball that I haven't seen on your list.
Okay.
From this year or even last year, Datura.
I haven't done that.
Have you heard of it?
I am familiar with it.
This is the most crazy drug to me ever.
Definitely on my bucket list. I plan on doing like a kind of psychedelic run, you know.
But have you heard it just makes you like insane?
I mean, hold it down. Fucking hold it down, man. You know, just lock in. You just can't go crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Just don't fold.
That's a good point, dude. Just don't give in. Just like keep fighting.
If you give in and go crazy, then like, yeah, you're going to go crazy. You're going to be crazy. But if you just fucking...
But I've heard of people that have done this. Like I've read stories. What's that site that you mentioned?
Arrowwood?
Arrowwood. Yeah. Like I was reading stories on there where like these guys basically like you get it from like these seeds from this plant that's like pretty ubiquitous. Like the plant's just out there and you can get these seeds and you kind of like boil them, cook them, whatever the fuck, and you like smoke this thing. And all the stories I read were like, yeah, after the first one, it's just a descent into madness. It just makes you crazy. You start seeing shit. There's like shadow people all around. Like it just seems like there's like no redeeming benefit. It just makes you crazy.
I feel like that's a drug you do if you feel yourself getting too much of an ego. You know, you're getting too ahead of yourself. You got to humble yourself by just like taking a scary drug. You know,
freak yourself out. So
there's some benefit to that I could see. You know, like Elon Musk would probably do that drug and come out of that and just be a very like docile man.
Because he's already on 10.
Yeah, he's on 10. He'd come out of that on 5 for sure.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
So I think,
dude, I talked to a guy on this show that said he did Datura in a jungle. Like he like found it and like did it like they do them as like ceremonies in like certain like indigenous cultures. Like
yeah, it's a very like deep spiritual thing for some cultures.
He did it with his boy and his friend. His story never came back.
Really?
Like he kind of came back and he was like, all right. And his friend was just like, forever. And I was like, that's enough for me. Like I'm good on that one.
That's just, I mean, I feel like those are kind of the dice you roll with any psychedelic drug.
Yeah, I guess. You know? Like if you just have the trait that makes you crazy.
There was a kid I knew like that in high school who tweaked like that off acid. He just dropped acid one time, had a really bad trip, and went like full psychotic. And now like he can't smoke weed, or else he'll have acid flashbacks and will start freaking out. So it changed his life permanently.
Is he good now? Like, if he's sober, he's
better. Yeah, he's like functioning, but he still can't smoke weed.
Whoa.
So
and in your world, you're like, dude, you're basically mental. You know what I mean? You can't smoke weed. Like you're fucking, your brain is broken.
Oh my God. I couldn't, you know, I don't know. Like my mom asks me all the time. She's like, when are you going to quit smoking weed? And I tell her, I'm like, Mom, you're lucky I've quit as much as I have.
Yeah. Well, can I have anything? Can I be happy?
Yeah. Let me get something at least.
Yeah. Right. Okay. You said you had never done heroin, but it's on your bucket list.
If my doctor walked in this room right now and said, you have stage 4 cancer, I'm shooting up heroin for sure. 100%.
What has stopped you from doing it thus far?
I'm not dying yet.
Okay.
So, like straight up, that's like, you know, if I get diagnosed with a terminal illness, I'm doing my rounds.
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing everything I haven't tried yet. But right now, I don't want to fall down that path. You know, I feel like I have a strong enough willpower where I could probably just like snort a little heroin and be chill. But I don't think I want to try that.
Yeah.
You know?
You feel like it's just too addictive.
I know that it's probably great. And I have a friend who used to do a ton of heroin. I have a couple friends who did actually. And one of them's dead now and the other one's homeless somewhere in Philly.
What the
So I don't want to do heroin.
Yeah, bro. But like there's that doctor that went on Rogan, I forget his name. He's like a professor somewhere, maybe some Ivy League. And he's like, yeah, I do heroin on like the weekends, maybe like twice a year. And he's like, I just casually do heroin. I was like, whoa. I guess some people can just fuck around.
I feel like the risks just outweigh the rewards so heavily on that. You know,
Yeah.
It's like, what do you need the heroin for that you can't achieve by just getting like really stoned?
You're being way too reasonable right now. This is what I would say.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
I figured you'd be the guy who'd be like, yeah, give it a whirl one time.
Get into some of the drugs I like more, and then we're talking.
Okay.
But like the heroin, I'm very reasonable about. You know, the heroin I don't really fuck with.
Meth.
I've probably accidentally done meth like 5 to 10 times.
How do you accidentally do meth?
I mean, fake Molly. You know, that's a very common cut.
Yeah.
So I've probably done meth like a handful of times.
Can you tell?
Have you ever been with a girl who does meth, like a tweaker girl? No. Bro, they're crazy as fuck. They're nuts. Girls that smoke meth are fucking cooked.
Who were you dating that smoked meth? You don't have to say her name.
I mean, she was a nutcase. She was a nutcase.
Before the meth, or
after the meth,
okay.
post meth.
Okay.
So it like permanently altered, her life cycle. That meth.
And how long were you guys dating for?
Not very long. Not very long. It was one of those things. I just had to dabble. I just had to see what was going on there.
I mean, was she good in other ways?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, the meth. Yeah.
It stacks up.
Yeah.
It's got its benefits.
She learned some things in the trap, in the trap house. I know that much. But for me, meth was one that I never did either because, like, honestly, I think I was just lucky that none of my friends were into it. Because on paper, it's the kind of shit that I'd probably love. It's a clear-headed drug. Like, meth heads get a lot of shit done, dude. They stay up for 7 days at a time. They'll clean their whole crib. They'll be repairing shit.
Yeah.
So, like...
Yeah, you had some meth heads that lived near you, right? What's up, guys? We're going to take a break really quick because I need to tell you what's going on with camp. Yes, this is just a camp behind-the-scenes update, no script. I just want to tell you what's going on here at the wonderful campsite. 2 things. 1, we got merch. Check it out, baby. It looks beautiful. It looks absolutely amazing. It's up on the website right now. We got this shirt and we got this shirt. They're absolutely awesome. I love them. I think the logo is beautiful. And we did very limited orders. We didn't make that many shirts because, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. So they're probably going to sell out. If you want to check it out, there's also a link in the description. You can also check it out at campgoods.co. That's right, campgoods.co. Check it out. Grab a shirt. Join the campsite. On top of that, we also got S'more Camp. What is S'more Camp? That is the Inner Sanctum, okay? That is our weekly newsletter, sometimes multiple times a week, and it's absolutely amazing because it gives you every single update directly to your inbox of what's going on with this show every single week. It'll give you cool updates and interesting things that are happening in history just to keep you more updated on the world, to make you a more interesting human being for every room that you walk into. Things like, religion, the mafia, war, crime, things that are just, make your day better. Starting your day just reading about a terrible crime that happened. Look, there's also some good stuff. We're probably going to be doing some giveaways for people that sign up within the next 48 hours. We'll probably be sending some extra, merch too. Maybe some sneak peek deals, maybe sending some episodes that haven't come out yet. There's all sorts of incentives and cool things we're going to be doing with that community. So join the campsite. Now let's get back to the show. What's up, guys? We're going to take a break really quick because I'm coming on the road. That's right. Pottstown, PA. Friday, November 8th, 2024, I'll be at Soul Joel's. You can come see me do 1 hour of stand-up comedy, nothing more and nothing less. It's going to be an amazing time. And if you're not near Pottstown, don't worry because I'm coming to Stamford, Connecticut. I'm going to New York Comedy Club. That's right. They have a bunch of amazing clubs in the city and also an amazing one in Stamford, Connecticut, November 13th. If you want to come hang out, come hang with me, say what's up. I'll be talking to everybody after the show. We'll be doing an hour of comedy, guys. Stand-up comedy. It's my passion. It's what I love to do when I'm not inside this tent. So come kick it with me. Bunch of crazy stories. We'll have a great time. You can find the link at my Instagram. Get it in the story. I'll put it in the description. I can't wait to see you guys there. Let's get back to the show.
Bro, my old neighbors were meth heads, and they'd be smoking that shit in their shed all night long with the door open. And they had this little fucking crotch rocket motorcycle that they'd work on all fucking night. And they just rev it and fucking start it and like stop it and start it again all night. In my fucking bedroom window. So imagine this, right? Here's like my crib. My bedroom window is like right here at the front, right? Right outside of my window is 2 fucking tweakers revving their crotch rocket 50 times an hour at like 3 a.m. Behind them is a shed with 3 more tweakers all hitting the pookie and their speakers really loud. And it's also still 3 a.m. So like, I hated that neighborhood, bro. I hated that place. That shit was cheap though.
Yeah.
I paid $1,100 for a 3-bed house.
Oh, you were living there alone?
Bro, that shit was lit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had my own crib. I was posted up. This is after I had gotten kicked out of my parents' house. I got kicked out of my mom's house because I got a DUI. So I was just like, fuck, I'm on my own now.
And that was alcohol induced?
Yes.
So where does alcohol rank on the tier list?
I'm very fond of alcohol. I'm fond of alcohol.
Yeah, it's up there.
I mean, fuck, dude. Probably, if we're being real, dude, like, hangovers are the only reason it's not S.
Yeah.
Hangovers are the objective only reason it's not S, because being drunk is so fun.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, the way I describe alcohol, like I have actually a handful of friends that never drink, and they're always like, "What's it like?" Like we went to Abu Dhabi.
Never drank?
We went to Abu Dhabi and we did shows over there, and we would hang with these Emirati guys.
Oh, okay.
And
so it's a religious.
Yeah, literally, and they're like, "Yeah, I've never drank." They're like 25 years old, like never drank. What's it like? And I was like, "It's like taking a break from yourself." I was like, "You kind of just get
a good way to put
you
it.
get just like a little bit of distance. Like you're still you, but you kind of just like can take a break from like." Oh, I feel insecure about talking to this person. Oh, I'm talking too much. I'm talking too like you take a break from all the things that like in your brain that make you think about you. You know what I mean? So I was like, yeah, that's the benefit of alcohol. But now
I like that description.
I just drink what Jesus drank. I'm like, I'm on my wine. I just go like natural
red
wine.
Or white?
It depends. If it's like with dinner, go red. But if it's like a little like daytime, like yo, let's get a glass, go white all day.
Okay.
My boy put me on a Chablis. You ever had a Chablis? There's like a dry white wine. It's great.
I've been on my whiskey kick lately.
Oh, really? Like nice whiskeys?
I wouldn't say super nice. I just go raid Costco. Like whatever they got in that aisle.
Yeah. And that's pretty good though. The Costco shit, they don't tell you that.
They have some amazing shit, and it's like $30 a bottle, and it's store brand.
I've heard a little inside tip. I don't know if this is true or not, but someone told me this, that the Costco brand vodka is just Grey Goose rebottled. Someone told me that.
It's funny you mention that because their vodka is like the only bottle I buy.
Yeah,
and I swear, I think you're right. Like it's the same fucking thing as Grey Goose.
Yeah, we would get it in college and shit, and just like pour it in new bottles.
It's $20 for a handle.
Yeah, it's
like
insane. Yeah, that's
it's a
like
no-brainer.
Bang for your buck if you're a responsible drunk out there,
dude. Oh my god, shout out, bro. Costco is ass on the tier list.
Yeah, that's number one.
That's a drug in itself.
That's
Costco,
number one. If it's like, yo, get a bag, like get a little like I don't know. Like a little eighth of blow, or get a Costco membership.
God,
Costco membership or an eighth. Be honest.
I mean, if Costco started selling drugs, they're changing the game,
bro. The free samples. Yo, you pull up with the free samples, dude.
Oh my god! And imagine they give you they'll front you. It's just like the plug. It's like if you're fiending really bad, you've spent enough money there, you've earned enough rewards. It's like, yo, you can claim some of your cashback rewards and get fronted this 8-ball.
And then go get a hot dog for $1.50.
Yes.
Then you get the $1.50 hot dog.
$1.50 hot dog and drink. Yup. Ooh.
Yeah, that would go crazy. They should look into that.
What kind of soda you like?
I'm weird with soda. I'm weird. Low key, dude. I've never been like a Coca-Cola guy. Never. Really,
okay, I don't like Coke either.
I think it's kind of overrated, to be honest. Like, and again, nothing against the Coca-Cola brand. I like other Coke products, like Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper is my number one. That's my pick.
My fucking dog.
Dr. Pepper's my one.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Yeah. And you gave me the West Coast dap. That's fire too. You really are a fucking LA kid. That's.
I mean, it's in me.
Yeah, a little cholo.
I've gotten accustomed quick.
Yeah, what's up, fucker? But yeah, dude, I go with Dr. Pepper, and then maybe I'll fuck around with like ginger ale. I'm not opposed to some ginger ale.
Really?
Or cream soda.
Ginger ale when you're not sick?
Yeah. Yeah, because I think
that's some adult shit.
I have like childhood, I have childhood connection to it because I would front to my mom that I was sick just to get free ginger ales because I couldn't really have soda, but if I had a tummy ache, I was allowed to have 42 grams of sugar. I don't know why. Didn't make any sense, but she was like, yeah, go have a ginger ale. That'll make you feel better.
So you had a tummy ache every day?
Every day. Yeah. Severe tummy ache. And I was just crushing like Canada Dries. I was just like going crazy.
Mom was probably so concerned.
Yeah.
His fucking stomach is destroyed.
Got ulcers or something. No, I'm addicted to sugar, actually, it turns out. So it's like that root beer. Dude, I think root beer might be like my number one.
Oh, what brand though?
I actually did a whole taste testing back when I was in college.
Don't say the wrong one, dude.
I honestly, if it comes in a glass bottle, so like there's a couple brands, I can't even think of the name. There's a couple that come in the glass bottle.
Yep.
And those shits just go fucking.
The glass bottle is like a cheat code.
Yeah.
It's very good. Same thing as beer,
Yeah.
Glass bottle beer,
Facts.
Same concept.
Facts. And I remember I would like sit at the table and my family would be drinking beer and I'd crush a root beer out of the bottle. Yeah. That shit was fire.
Act drunk a little bit.
Yeah. I'd be like, I love you guys. For real. You guys are like my fucking family. And they're like, we are your family. And I'm like, that's a good point. I'm trying to think though, like, A&W's fine. Low-key Barks.
Barks is your pick?
I think that might be my number one.
Really?
Yeah. No, Mugs. That little bulldog.
Mug is the shit.
Yeah,
that's the answer.
That bulldog. That
Mug
bulldog
is the answer.
Yeah.
I feel like, what are the other brands besides like the three that come to mind for me is it's Mugs, A&W, and Bark. And then like
And then you get like the boutique ones, which again,
The bougie ones, yeah, the glass bottle.
I go bougie. I'll spend fucking $10 for a 6-pack. You know what I mean? I'm not above that.
That's serious.
If I'm having root beer floats with my little niece, you know what I mean? I'm gonna ball out. I'm not gonna be stingy with her.
Damn,
give her
I haven't had
A&W.
a good float in a minute.
You remember the Frosty floats? Yeah.
Bro, have you tried the new the berry Frosty?
No, I haven't been to Wendy's in a minute.
Dude, it's the only reason to go. Fuck right.
Well, you get the fries on the side to dip. Obviously, you're not a fucking scoundrel.
Their fries are washed now, though.
Yeah, but you bathe them in a Frosty, all of a sudden they start tasting pretty good.
Sure, but I mean, it's hard to bathe them in the Frosty when every fry is flaccid now.
That's a decent point. Honestly, that's a decent point. If you want to really come up, you do that and then hit the Mickey D's that's next door.
Ooh,
and you go McDonald's
okay.
fries in the Frosty.
Hit a 2-piece.
If you can. And then depending on the day, maybe even a Chick-fil-A waffle. And then you get the scoop. Sometimes we go Chick-fil-A waffle in the milkshake.
That's the fucking... Damn, that's the method.
That shit would go crazy.
Okay.
That's my crack. You know what I mean? Like when people are like, yo, you want to cook up? We'd be like, yo, I got all the shit. Let me go get the fries. Let me get the milkshake. Bang. Combination.
I'm out here in New York and I'm just going to eat fast food the whole time.
Yeah, respect. The greatest food city in America. And you're going to go fast food. I mean, you should have had pizza. You've been in New York before.
I mean, not since I was a kid, and it wasn't really like, you know.
Oh, we're getting a slice.
Same New York experience.
We're getting a slice after this, 1,000,000%. I'm going to take you to a spot. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Let's get it.
Yeah, we got that lined up.
Fuck yeah.
But okay, so alcohol is pretty high. I agree. Alcohol is up there. I'm cool with that. But how did you get a DUI? Because this is the downside of alcohol is that sometimes you crash into a tree.
This is the consequence. Yep. You crash into a tree and then the tree falls on the corner of someone's house. But it's a light tree, so it doesn't hurt anybody. You know, it just hurts the house.
Yeah.
So
it's a light tree. I love those. Those are my favorite types of trees.
Yeah, just a chill little tree.
Yeah.
So I was live streaming actually in my mom's basement, and I had a bottle of Ciroc, and I was doing like shots for donations. So it was like, yo, you donate fucking $5, we're pouring up, you know? And it was a really good live stream. I got fucking drunk as hell. I drank like half the bottle of Ciroc. And it was a fifth. It wasn't a handle. So it was a lot of liquor, but you know, I was able to at least stay upright with that amount in me. And it was getting towards the end of the stream and I was hungry as hell. I was like, yo, I got the munchies. Like, Wendy's sounds exquisite. And I don't know why I didn't like order it. You know, I figured the best course of action at that point would be to drink the other half of the bottle really fast, get in my car, go to Wendy's, get my food, and drive back really quick before the liquor hits. Because if I can get home before the second half of the bottle hits,
then you're
we're
good.
enjoying
so
a
just
good meal.
Drive faster.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I slam the second half of the bottle and I end my stream and I go out to my car. And at this point, I was driving a car that I miss so fucking bad. My old pimp mobile. I had a 1994 Cadillac DeVille.
Oh, wow.
So it was purple too.
Oh,
so
that is perfect.
It was fucking amazing. I went and I hopped in that shit. And mind you, this is like 2017. No, this is 2019, actually. This is October 2019. It's
pretty recent.
When this happened. Yeah, relatively recent. So I go and I jump in my Cadillac and I drive to Wendy's and I get my food. And, like, I'm still doing okay. You know, I drive there fine. I don't hit anything. You know, I get my food. I come home and I remember I made it home. And, like, I don't remember exactly what point the liquor hit me, but I think it was as soon as I pulled in the driveway. Because I got out of the car and I went to the open, like, you know, the keypad on my garage and enter my garage code, and I just couldn't do it. Like, I just could not fathom the garage code. I didn't know it anymore. So, like, I'm just entering numbers and I'm like, fuck, man, like, the garage is broken, dude. Like, it won't open. And I could have just parked my car and walked around to the front door, you know, just gone around to the other side and walked in the house. Like, I had keys, you know, but I just didn't compute that. You know, I was like, yo, the garage code's not working. I guess I'm going to leave, you know?
Oh, no.
So I
could have even just posted up in the caddy.
Yeah, I literally could have just slept in the car. I could have just chilled in the fucking whip, right? So I get back in my car. I never even got to eat my fucking Wendy's, dude. What? I never even got to eat my Wendy's, right? I get back in the car. I back out of my driveway. I scrape the side of my garage door. I scrape these two little, like, kind of like guard beams that separate my driveway from my neighbor's driveway. I back out. I get my car and drive. So, like, I back out of my driveway like this. I pull out like this. Main road's like curving around this way, right? I make a left back out onto this road. And normally when I'm pulling out, I have to make a left and then a really sharp right in order to stay on the road. I made the left and it just never turned again. So I made the left, went over the curb. There was this tree that had been planted pretty recently in my neighbor's yard that I just went straight over, and the tree goes down and it hits the corner of their house. So my car like gets stuck over the tree and stops going.
Like propped up, probably.
Yeah. So it wouldn't go anymore. And I'm still flooring it. I'm like not computing that I'm stuck. So I'm like revving the shit out of my car. The neighbors run outside and I see them in my headlights and they're like yelling some shit at me. And I still didn't really understand what was going on.
Do you know these neighbors?
No, I'd never met them before. Never seen them. Honestly, I maybe would have preferred that I knew them.
Oh, because then they could have been cool about it.
Yeah,
like,
maybe it would have been a little more
you.
chill, you know, like, because the damage wasn't that bad. It's just like your lawn's ruined, man, and your tree's gone. But like, you know, like the house was relatively all right, you know? So they run outside and they're like yelling at me or some shit. The cops showed up fast as fuck. At that point, I was so drunk, like I don't really have a concept of how much time had gone by, but it felt like I saw these people and the cops just appeared, you know? So I remember the cops pulled up and it was like 2 or 3 squad cars that came, and they, you know, one of the cops comes up to my driver's side door and I just kind of like gave in, you know, like they didn't need to breathalyze me or anything. I was just like, yo, I'm drunk. Like,
did you try to play like?
No,
was there any party that was like
so wasted? There was no chance,
and
like,
you weren't gonna hoof it.
I couldn't stand. Like,
wow.
I opened the door, I got out of my car, and just like started stumbling and like almost falling. I was wasted, so I was super fucked up. There was no chance of me like, you know, lying my way out of this one. It was over with. So they just handcuffed me pretty much immediately and took me the fuck up out of there. I spent the night in the jail cell and I had no shoes and no glasses. I guess they had left those in the car and just not grabbed them. So they just took me there with no shoes, no glasses, and my phone was dead. And they wanted to let me go at 6 a.m. with like no ride and no contact or anything. I was just supposed to find my way home. Like, I had no glasses.
At least a
I'm
charge.
blind as fuck without my glasses.
Really?
Yeah, like if I took these off right now, all I can read on that wall is like Jimi Hendrix right there.
Wow.
I can't read anything else on the wall.
Can you see me?
So barely. I can see like the shape of you, but like I can't really make out your
That's my
facial
best
features.
feature, really. You might be better off without glasses.
You have a good shape.
Yeah, like a nice silhouette.
So I had spent the night in jail and finally, you know,
Anyone else in jail with you?
There was like a couple other people in different holding cells, but like they were individual little cells that we were in.
That's nice.
So yeah, it wasn't bad. You know, I just kind of vibed on my little metal bench.
Yeah.
But
got a mugshot.
Yeah, I did get my mugshot, which I've thrown on a bunch of t-shirts.
Anything going through your head when you're getting the mugshot, like, oh, this is gonna be, I'm gonna see this, or were you just like
at that time? I mean, that was my first mugshot as an adult. So I was more excited about that one because I'd be able to get it.
Yeah.
The ones of me as a minor, like even Freedom of Information Act, they're not giving you.
Really?
Yeah. You just don't get those.
Oh wow.
So, like I put in the way that I got my mugshot, I did a video actually where I read over all of my like legal paperwork. I submitted a Freedom of Information Act request to the department that arrested me like every single time, and they sent me back 83 pages with everything, like all the reports they had that involved me, all pictures and like, you know, evidence reports and that kind of stuff. But I only ever had that one mugshot from the DUI.
Anything funny in the report to describe?
There was so much stupid shit. There was one where I was like the worst fucking thief when I was younger. I used to steal from every fucking liquor store, every grocery store, every like all the stores, Target, fucking Best Buy, you name it, I stole from it.
Just like random little like toys and shit.
Whatever to make money, you know, or like.
Oh, you would try to flip it.
Yeah. So like I would go to Walmart and the first time I got arrested like for a serious crime, this was a felony. I got reduced to a misdemeanor in court. I would go to Walmart and I had a little like. You seen those plastic storage totes?
Yeah.
So I would get one of those and take the lid off, and the barcode is on the outside. And I'd go to the discount game bin when they used to have those, load the fucking bin up, like just fill up the bin in my cart, put the lid back on, go to self-checkout, and buy the bin. So I'd have the receipt. And then I just walk out the door. And normally it was like, you know, at my Walmart, at least, I lived in a nice area still at that point. So it was like a little special needs kid checking the receipts. It wasn't like a big security guard.
Like, you got that.
So then, all right, well, you bought the bin. Have a good day. So I got away with it like twice or 2 or 3 times, and it worked really good. And then the last time that I went, I just went for too much shit, I think. Like, I took like these little Guitar Hero drum sets and put them in there and shit. Flew too close to the sun.
And they checked you.
And they actually let me like out the first set of doors, and I was going to the second set of doors, and then they came up behind me and just grabbed me by the shoulders.
Whoa.
Yeah. And they were just like, stop. And, you know, by that point I was like, damn, it was this swole ass lesbian. It was over. I had no chance.
With the side cut?
Bro, you could tell like she was running that shit like the military for sure.
Marines.
They were doing like when that Walmart was closed, they were doing drills around the aisles for sure, like under her command.
That's crazy. So Cadet Kelly grabs you, and then that was it.
Yeah, she grabbed me, and then they took me to the little room and like played back they gave a DVD of like all the video footage of me filling it and walking out to the police and everything. So that was fucked.
Were you nervous at all any of the other times you stole?
No, because I'd be fucked up every time I went in.
Gotcha.
It's like I was never sober doing it, or very rarely. Or if I was sober, it's like I was fiending so hard and like I was doing it because I was so desperate to get fucked up that it didn't even cross my mind.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, I'm going to get high after this.
Bro, you used to be a real degenerate. That's awesome.
I was up to no good.
That's wild. Sure. So you would just copping DVD, and you would sell them at like GameStop?
Yeah, so I'd go to like pawn shops or GameStop, or there was this store called Disc Replay that was like similar to GameStop, you know, little game store. But just wherever would buy them, you know. I would never do like marketplace or anything. I'd just sell it to stores.
Yeah. And you'd probably do them in bulk and just be like, yeah, I got this bin of all my old games.
Sometimes I would have to be careful because like showing up to GameStop and selling like 6 wrapped copies of Lego Batman is like a bad look. You know, sometimes I could get away with like 2, and I'd be like, oh yeah, it's just me and my little brother's copy, you know.
Hilarious.
But like I could never do more than like 2 at a time. So if there was little variety, I'd have to like spread it out, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so wait, what happened with the rest of this DUI? You get let out.
So I got let out. I went home, and I didn't really know what to expect because I'd never, you know, dealt with a DUI court-wise before.
How do you get home? You call your mom or some shit?
My mom picked me up, thank God.
Pissed?
Her phone number was the only one I remembered by heart at that point.
Yeah.
So I just kept calling her off the jail phone. I was like, please give me one more call, bro. Like, I swear to God, she'll pick up at some point. She was livid, but she did pick me up. So she got me, took me home, and she said, you got 7 days to get the fuck out of my house. So I got up out of there. My homie's fucking drug dealing brother had a house that he was illegally subleasing 3 hours south of us.
Okay.
And he told us that we could go live there if we paid the power bill to get the power restored, because he was like 3 months behind. The power was disconnected, and he was about to go to jail for a pending case he had. So he was like, yo, if you guys sublease it from me, then you can keep the lease going and keep the power on so that when he gets out of jail, he has somewhere to live. So that was our plan. So we're like, bet. We'll go down there, take this house. It was this shithole house with no heat, no air conditioning, no gas line connected, so we couldn't use the stove or anything. Like, we basically were just paying for walls and a floor and a roof, right? But we moved into this house. We were illegally subleasing, so when the landlord showed up on Christmas Day, he found out that it was not actually the tenant that was supposed to be there living there, but it was us getting high in that bitch and living like degenerates instead. So luckily, well, kind of luckily, I was like out of the house at that point. You know, it was the holidays. But I came back, and he had a dumpster out front, and he was just throwing away all my shit. So I had to move out of that place, move into another shithole house that was nearby. Kind of bounced around like trap houses, living like that for a little bit.
Dealing with this DUI case the whole time.
Yeah, while I'm dealing with this DUI case, because I couldn't afford to get like a real living situation, because DUI costs like $10,000.
Yeah.
You know, it's I mean, I paid over $3,000 just in fines to the court. Whenever you're on like court supervision or like probation, you have to pay for that every single day you're on that. So even if you're on like unsupervised probation, they bill you for every day of that, because it's like their maintenance fee or like whatever they call it. So you pay for that as well on top of your court costs. Then you have to pay for your attorney, of course. You know, if you don't get legal representation, you're going to get fucked.
Yeah.
And then you have to pay for the classes that they mandate that you take. And the classes are like $250 an hour. and they'll assign you like 20, 30 hours of these classes. So you'll end up spending like $15,000 on your first DUI.
Wow.
So I was dirt broke dealing with this shit, and my parents were not going to pay for it.
What about the house with the tree? Did you cover any of that shit?
Yeah. So that they ended up billing that because it was my mom's neighborhood. They billed that to my mom, and then I had to pay back my mom like over the years because I just didn't have. It was like 20 grand.
And then the car was just totaled?
Oh, the car was done. So the worst part about the car, I had just gotten it a couple months prior. And when my mom had kicked me out, she'd given me 7 days. My car was still in the impound lot from the DUI. And there was like a hold period before I could go pick it up where they had to like go take their pictures and do their DUI investigation, right? So the hold period expired and I go to pick up the car and I had to pay almost $800 to get the car out because this lot had crazy ass storage fees.
Yeah, of course.
And I kept asking them, I was like, is the car drivable? And they're like, yeah, it's drivable. It's good to go. Like, no problem. And I didn't have the money to get it fixed if it wasn't. So I give them like $700 something. I get in the car and it doesn't fucking drive. It just rolls. Like it's stuck in first gear. The accelerator doesn't really do much. The engine revs, but the wheels don't do anything. So I'm like, fuck, I just got scammed. Like I'm not going to get my money back, obviously. So this was the day that I was supposed to pack my shit into that car and drive 3 hours south to go live in that little trap house. So now my car for the road trip is done. So I'm like, fuck. So I rolled it out of the tow lot because like I had to get it out at that point. I rolled it across the street and I just left the keys on the seat and just fucking ditched it.
Wow.
So I don't know where it is.
Someone probably like a meth head. I think a meth head. I think your neighbors probably picked it up and fixed it.
Dude, it was a great car. I hope they fucking did. It had cigarette lighters in all the doors.
Wow.
Oh, I miss
Power windows or you had to roll them down?
it. Had power windows.
Oh, hell
actually.
yeah.
Dude, it was a nice whip for 94 especially.
Those DeVilles are kind of fire. And they're coming back too. You see people like souping them up now?
Dude, so I've been looking on Facebook Marketplace because I kind of want to get another one, but like one that, you know, isn't a complete piece of shit like that one. And they're expensive now.
Yeah. No, they came up. It's like the Bronco.
Yep.
Like you want like an old Bronco. It's going to be like 20 G's. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's the downside with alcohol. Sometimes you get kicked out of your house. I guess, right? Like it's, you know.
Sometimes you crash into, you know, houses and then get kicked out of your own.
Yeah, and that happens. You know what I mean? So, I mean, we regret that. Probably shouldn't have done it, but
yes,
we live and learn. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right.
Okay, now there's a couple things on here.
Okay.
Weed, edibles, sprayed weed.
I can run those quick.
I didn't even know sprayed weed was a thing. So you take those three, break them down however you want.
I can run those real easy. So weed's an obvious S tier.
Yeah.
Clear S tier. It's the drug of all drugs. It's like the only substance that you can just do all fucking day with minimal consequence relatively, you know? And granted, yeah, you can argue, sure, it can make you more lazy, you know? It can make you ignore your responsibilities. It's definitely not good for, you know, achieving your career goals and, you know, maybe being responsible. But if you sit and you do cocaine or you smoke crack or you do meth all day every day, you're going to be on a street corner in like 6 months flat, right?
Yeah.
You smoke weed every day, you're probably vibing, you know? Your shit might be a little messy, you know? Maybe you need to clean your apartment, but like you'll be chilling. You'll still have an apartment. You know? So weed's 100% an S tier for me. It also helps me quit other drugs, you know? There's, you know, you can replace bad habits with other bad habits, but I don't view getting stoned as a bad habit. So I was able to replace a lot of my bad habits with a less bad habit, which is getting stoned. So I hold weed in very high regard for that reason as well.
Respect.
Edibles are cool, but like, I just can't do it anymore.
Really?
When I was younger, so I have a lot of videos on my channel. I've eaten like thousands and thousands of milligrams at a time. I've done like stupid edible doses. I did 4,200 milligrams on 420 a few years ago.
4,000?
4,200 milligrams. So it was 5 grams of RSO. And I just ate all the syringes on stream.
Like, so what is like a gummy bear? Like when my friend's
one
parents...
gummy bear is like 10 milligrams.
Bro.
For like one gummy bear.
That's an okay. So what happened when you took 4,200
I was
milligrams?
tweaking for days. I was
Really?
high for like 3 days straight. Yeah, I remember it was the first time where I thought like, damn, I finally did it this time. The drugs caught up, you know? I remember I woke up the day that I took that dose. I was really high, don't get me wrong, but like it was still under control. It wasn't until I went to bed and woke up the next day and was way fucking higher that I realized, like, yo, I fucked up so bad. Like, I fucked up so bad. I felt dumb as fuck. Like, it was like I had just taken like 10 fucking Xans and like slammed a bottle of Jack and like hit my head against the wall a bunch of times in a row. Like, I was slurring all my words. I was speaking slowly. Like, it completely fried me. And I got nothing done for like 3 days straight.
Were you scared?
Yeah. When I had woken up that following day, I remember thinking like, dude, I think I fried my brain this time. Like, I think I actually gave myself brain damage. Like, I really thought I'd killed off a good like 20% of my brain cells at that point. So that was like the last huge edible dose that I ever did. I did a couple like 1,000 milligram doses since then, but like I've done nothing over 1,000, 1,500 in like years because that scared the shit out of me.
Yeah. And do you find the highs different smoking?
Oh, dude, smoking, like, there's definitely a different high when you smoke a joint versus when you take a dab. But then taking an edible is like, it's almost like a different drug even. Like, it's not the same experience at all.
Yeah.
I don't find edible high as relaxing. It's almost like, I mean, granted, my threshold is really high. So, like, I have to take a lot to get stoned off edibles. But for me, it gets almost like psychedelic. And I don't like that,
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of my problem, I feel like. It's like, and again, I don't know anything about strains or any of that shit. So, like, if I smoke, even just smoking, I'll do like... Like my boys smoke all the time, and they're always like, "Hey, you want to look at weed?" Because anytime I smoke to them, I would literally just be like, and I would just be like, and I genuinely, I think about planets. I'll like be like, "Yo, why is Jupiter just up there, bro? Like, why is that shit?"
That's good though. Like you're getting your creative mind flowing.
But then I freak out because I'm like, "Why are we here? Like, why is this planet here? Like, we're really just like primates walking around."
You know what I think about all the time? I always think about, like, when I get stoned, I think about what happens when I die. Like, every time.
Oh wow.
Every fucking time.
And did you figure it out?
No. Oh. I don't know. I ponder on it a lot.
Does it freak you out at all?
I wouldn't say it freaks me out. No, I mean, I think everyone's due for it at some point. So, like, it doesn't really scare me.
Yeah.
The way I think about it is like, there's hella people that went before me. So, like, the world's still flowing. So it must be all right,
But that shit, I don't know. I would get high and just start thinking about crazy shit and be like, yo, I gotta go to sleep. And then I wake up the next morning, feel like a little hazy.
Yep.
And then I'm like, I'm not doing that. And then like a month would go by, and then someone would be like, you want a little puff? And I'm like, I'm going to do less. And I'd go even smaller. And then, bro, I smoked with Dwight Howard one time.
Okay.
We were at this music festival. And I'm like, partying, I'm doing my thing, having a great time. All of a sudden, I turn around, Dwight Howard's right there. He's smoking a joint.
You're probably like, what the fuck?
I grew up in Orlando, bro. Like, I grew up.
So that's huge for you.
I'm like, this is literally Superman. Like, this is like my hero. I'm like, dude, this is the guy. And he passes me a joint. At this point, I'm like, I haven't smoked weed in like a year. I'm like, yeah, I don't smoke weed.
You're not saying no.
He passes me a joint, bro.
You're not saying no.
I fucking grab that shit. And I puff it. I'm like, immediately, I'm like, Dwight Howard hates me. And I was just like, Dwight Howard hates me. All these people hate me. Like, I'm like dancing.
No.
And like, people keep looking back. And they're looking at fucking Dwight Howard. But the whole time, I'm like, oh, they know that I'm so high.
You think they're all just looking at you and just being like, this guy's high, that fucking loser?
Everyone's on everyone's doing fucking meth. And like, they're looking at me being like, oh, who Dwight Howard knows that guy? Like,
yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm just like, yo, this is crazy. So I just like dance it off for like an hour and a half until eventually I come down and I'm like, never again. I think that was the last time I smoked weed. It was like a year and a half ago.
You know, a good way to deal with that, to make you think of that differently in your head?
Please.
You're the only one that remembers that.
Oh, by 1,000,000%.
Yeah. Keep that in mind.
I'm going to meet Dwight Howard one day and be like, dude, you shared a joint with me. And he's going to be like, no, I didn't.
It's going to be the most important moment in your life. And he's just going to be like, what? Are you good, bro?
That's a good point, bro. Honestly, like, yeah, that's actually a great point. I'm the only one that remembers. Because I don't know, I was just like bugging out. But are there different strains that would affect me differently?
Oh, 100% there are. Yeah. I mean, there's a million different flavor and terp profiles that you can find in different flavors of weed that completely change the high.
Yeah.
So that's one of my favorite things about it. You know, you can't really find that with other drugs, except shrooms, kinda. But most other drugs, you don't find the variety like that.
Yeah. There's no like strawberry banana Coke. You know what I mean? They don't have that yet.
Yeah, not yet. Well, I mean, they probably do, but it's probably not good for you.
Yeah, there's no way.
You can get some of those flavors naturally in cannabis.
So. Well, that's a good point. Yeah. And then Indica versus Sativa, how much does that matter?
There's a lot of debate over whether or not that's even real. So like a lot of people in the weed industry, especially lately, it's been a hot topic of like, are indica and sativa even real? I believe they are. I subscribe to the fact that they are, but I think indica and sativa are just a way to describe certain terp profiles. So it's like there's certain terps, and there's not enough research behind this to like definitively say these things, but there's certain terps that like definitely make you more tired and more physically relaxed and couch locked. And then there's more terps. I find it's usually the lemony ones that make you more talkative and more uppity and not couch locked. That's where indica and sativa comes in. That's what the difference is. But like, also, every single strain has like different phenotypes. So like, you can have two different versions of the same strain, and they can smoke two different ways and have two different flavor profiles. So that's where it gets confusing, because like you could have a strain that fundamentally, like, you look at that and you say that's an indica, but then there could be a pheno of that strain that smokes like a sativa.
So it like branches off branches off branches.
Yep.
And now it's like, what?
Never ending.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That makes a lot of sense. And then what is sprayed weed?
So this is a new trend, actually. Out here, it's popular. I bet we could probably walk like a block over and find a bag of this right now. If we really wanted to. But sprayed weed is where people are taking like these really cheap $800, $600 fucking pounds of some indoor fucking work, right? Like some cheap deps, you know? And there's this machine. There's a couple ways to spray terps. You know, the real like caveman way is literally a spray bottle and you're spraying these nugs, right? The advanced way that people are doing this now is there's a machine where you can take old, shitty, dried out weed, put it in, and rehydrate that weed to make it look better and feel better, and you can infuse terps into it. The problem with it is that you can infuse terps that are natural and not natural. So like you could put like a marshmallow coconut flavor onto your weed, and it tastes like, when you smoke it, it literally tastes like, you know, you're eating a s'more, or like you're eating a cinnamon Pop-Tart or something like that. And that's not natural. And there's not any research behind what smoking those flavors actually does. But there's also like, weed regulations have not kept up with the market. So like, none of this shit is illegal. And like, I'm willing to bet it's probably going to give a lot of people cancer, smoking all this like marshmallow, candy, fucking strawberry, banana, artificial terps.
Yeah, what even is it? Like, it's just asbestos or some shit?
Nobody knows. That's the thing. Nobody actually knows what these flavors are that are being infused.
Wow.
But it's a trend right now that a lot of people are doing, because people that don't, that aren't super educated about weed like it. They smoke it and they're like, wow, this tastes good. And they don't understand why, there's a fundamental problem with it, because they don't understand that they're getting scammed when they buy it. They're charging $60 a bag for this shit, and the product inside they bought for $4.
Gotcha. So it's kind of a hustle that's probably not good for you.
It's a hustle that's probably dangerous.
Wow.
And showing no signs of slowing down.
So that's going to rank low. That's
F tier.
Yeah, that's all the way
That's
F
tier. That's. I would rather smoke crack every day than smoke spray. I really mean that. I do.
It's that low.
It's bad, bro. Like the spray shit is bad news. I am a staunch opponent of this.
Wow.
I stand against spray.
What about like Delta 8 or any of that? What even is that? What's up, guys? We're going to take a break really quick because you need to know what's on my wrist. This is a Whoop. It is my favorite thing ever. I'm genuinely so excited to be working with them. I wear it all the time, and here's why. I love my Whoop for a couple reasons. One, it gamifies my health. It turns my actual health into a video game. Every single morning, I can pop on to my app, and I can look at how I slept that night. I can look at how what I ate impacted how I slept, and it tells me all the metrics for my health that I need in order to perform my best, not only at the gym, but also at work, doing a podcast, listening to some scientists, doing stand-up. It helps with everything. And on top of that, I use it for my workouts. My Whoop strength trainer, literally, I type in my workouts and it tells me everything that I'm doing. It keeps my heart rate, tells me where my heart rate's at, and it keeps me on track with all of the reps and movements that I'm doing. It's absolutely awesome. And if you're not wearing a Whoop, you absolutely should get one. The other thing I love about it, it can give you like data on other people within your region or other groups and how they're doing. So you can keep track, see where you're at on the leaderboard. It's super fun. If you're interested in joining Whoop, taking control of your health and trying the challenge for yourself, I would implore you to go to join.whoop.com join.whoop.com/camp. That's right, join.whoop.com/camp. Or you can click on the link in the description. And for people that use this promo code CAMP, you will be getting a 1-month free trial of Whoop. Let's get back to the show. What's up, guys? We're going to take a break really quick because I got to tell you about an amazing service known as Bluechew. That's right. Bluechew is a service that basically delivers this chewable tablet to your door whenever you want, once a week, once a month. I don't even know if they could do it that frequently, but they'll send it right to your door. You don't have to go to the doctor and have some awkward conversation with some guy in a lab coat, some dude that's judging you, probably, if I had to guess. With Bluechew, it's super discreet. The packaging is discreet. It's just a couple questions on their website, and they will send you chewable tablets that have basically the same active ingredients as like a Viagra or a Cialis, but at the fraction of the cost and in a chewable form. It's great. It truly is. I mean, one time I was in the woods and we were cold and it was raining, and I pitched a tent with the help of Bluechew, and everyone gathered under it, and we were safe, and it saved me and a lot of lonely people. So if you're interested in Bluechew, here's how you get it. You're going to go to bluechew.com and use the promo code GAGNON. That's right, GAGNON. It's kind of funny, Gagnon as the promo code. I don't know why exactly, but it is funny. And you're going to receive your first month for free. That's right, bluechew.com. Use the promo code Gagnon. Check it out. Bluechew. Let's get back to the show.
Delta 8, so in 2018, there was a bill passed called the Farm Bill, which tried to regulate the hemp industry and CBD, but inadvertently legalized a whole bunch of different cannabinoids. Delta 8 being one of the whole bunch that fall into that legalized category. Interestingly, Delta 8 had its period where it was popular. Now nobody buys it, nobody makes it, nobody smokes it, because people discovered that the 2018 Farm Bill effectively legalized regular weed. So there's something called THC-A, which is legal. I'm involved in this market. There's a lot of people involved in this market. Effectively, THC-A is like the precursor to regular THC. So think of like when you grow a cannabis plant, right? It's not like standard THC that you're finding chemically in those nugs when they first grow on the plant, right? When you harvest, the plant, you trim it, you pull the nugs off, you've got THC-A that's waiting to be converted to Delta-9 THC. And Delta-9 THC is the chemical that gets you high. The way that it converts from THC-A to Delta-9 THC is when heat's applied. So the moment you smoke it, it converts into regular THC, and then it gets you stoned. The way that the law is written is cannabis is defined by the amount of Delta-9 THC that's stored in it by dry weight, right? Not THC-A. So inadvertently, they legalized all weed. Wow. Like you can go to a dispensary right now, a legal dispensary that sells, licensed medical cannabis, and you'll find a lot of products that by definition you could legally ship across the country right now as hemp.
Wow. So it's the precursor to weed. Wow. That's fascinating.
It is weed, effectively. It's just the precursor to the chemical that gets you stoned.
So there's some shops around here specifically that like sell weed. I'm assuming they're probably selling that and kind of like skirting the law.
If you're lucky, they're just selling that. If you're unlucky, they're either selling spray shit or Delta 8. Wow. Because there's higher margins on those.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah, what's the shit you used to be able to buy like in like smoke shops that would like...
The Scooby Snacks, the K2?
Okay. Oh, Salvia.
Oh, I've never dabbled in that.
Are you familiar with it?
I am, yes. I've never dabbled in it.
They used to like sell it legally, like in smoke shops and shit.
So that came before all the spicing K2. That was like the OG like smoke shop drug.
Yeah.
That was like a little before my time though. By the time I started like fucking around and getting high, that was already like phased out.
And so did you know anyone that did salvia?
I knew people that had done it. I had a buddy named Julian. He was actually, I talked about him earlier. He's like homeless in Philadelphia now doing heroin. But he described it as kind of shitty.
Yeah.
He said it's like, the best way to describe it is it's like imagine if you smoked, I'm trying to remember what he said because it was really funny. He was like, imagine if you smoked weed, but like it was actually Benadryl. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with what a Benadryl high is like.
No.
You see like shadow people and hear voices and shit. It's terrifying.
I've been on that subreddit. I've been on that subreddit.
It's not fun.
Yeah, what is like? Why do people like? There's like spiders and shit. That like,
yeah, you see spiders and like it's terrifying. I've never fucked with that either because like I don't like being scared.
Yeah.
You know?
So why do people do this? Like,
I think it's like a cheap high, and it's kind of a drug for people that are like really desperate. You know, the kind of people who are just like, well, better than sober.
wow.
You know?
What about huffing paint? You ever know anyone that did that, or like markers or some shit?
I know. I used to have a lot of friends who huff nitrous and stuff.
Yeah.
That was like
Whippets, right?
Yeah. That was a very fun thing when you're younger.
Oh yeah, I did a whippet one time actually.
How'd you like it?
It was weird.
It's fucking awesome.
This is in a nightclub in Moscow.
Oh, okay.
And they were just passing around balloons. And I was like, it was just like open at this nightclub. And I was like, all right. So I was with this like Russian guy, and I was like, yo, I'm going to hit this. And he's like, yeah, it's fine. It's fun. It'll be like 20 seconds. Just see what happens. And so like, I just like took the balloon and was like, and then like, we're sitting in like this club, and it's just like, zip, 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 zip. And then slowly I just like fell into like a hole. And then the music got really far away, and it was like, and it was just like, and I was just like, oh, where the fuck? I was like, Get Out, like Sunken Place. And I could like kind of see everyone like far away, like the little hole. And then just immediately it was just like,
you just got sucked back in?
Back into the party. And I was like, that was weird.
Yeah. It's
never did it again. I was
doesn't
like,
seem fun. You know?
I don't get it. I don't know. I'm assuming you got to do it over and over and over. You got to like have a night where you're like, yeah, we're just going to like, I've seen them do it out of like the little, like those things that like raves
so casually. So casually. They're just huffing it. I've seen people huff it while they're driving and shit.
No way.
Just so casually. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I remember I had a buddy who used to do that, actually. This kid named Jaden who used to steal alcohol for us. I didn't ride in his car very much because it was absolutely terrifying, but he'd like huff whippets, or he'd pick you up when he was barred out and be swerving and like hit the curb all the time and shit. He would go like 85 miles an hour through neighborhoods that like kids would be playing on the lawns and shit.
What the fuck?
I hated riding in that guy's car.
What happened to that dude?
He went to jail a few times. I think he had a kid. Might have figured it out by now.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, that'd be great. I hope so. He was a cool dude to me.
That's crazy.
Didn't rob me. So.
That's good. Yeah. What about other psychedelics? Like, obviously we talked about shrooms a little, but like DMT.
DMT's on my bucket list. I saved that one though. That's like, I didn't want to blow all the drug experiences. You know, I wanted to have like one thing on my plate still, and DMT is what I saved.
What about ayahuasca?
I don't know if I want to do that, because that's kind of like when we were talking about like Datura earlier, you know, I've heard similar stories with like ayahuasca, you know, people taking ayahuasca and just not really like coming back.
Really?
Yeah.
You knew people that happened to?
I don't know people, but I've seen a lot of stories of that.
Whoa.
And that kind of scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
That's like,
it's a long experience.
I think I'd have to do DMT first. You know, like ayahuasca is pretty late on the totem pole for me.
Yeah. Because DMT is like 10 minutes.
Yeah. 10, 20 minutes, you know, like fuck it, bro. Just quick little out-of-body experience.
Yeah, for real. Like I had friends that like, I had a friend that would do it. He did it like a couple times, and he was like, he like broke through the first couple times, like hung out with the machine elves. He was like, the way he described it was this. The machine elves were basically like little goblins, okay? They were like devious. They would be like up to stuff. They were always nice, and they were really excited to see him.
They were so happy.
So literally, he's like, you hit it, you're kind of in like the waiting room, and then you like go into the party, and he was like, there was a DJ. He was like, there was like a little like machine elf DJ that was like, and he was just like in there, and when he walked in, all the goblins were like, oh, he's here.
What a pleasant fucking DMT experience,
bro.
Dude.
He said it was like
I've heard so much worse than that.
No, his was like awesome, and then he like kind of snapped out of it in like 6-7 minutes, and then looked at a list that he had written before he took it that was like his intentions, and it was like, consider all living things, eat better. And he like looked at the list and just started crying laughing. He was just like, what the fuck? He was like, I thought I was gonna have like some beautiful experience, and then looked at the list and he was like, this is not, no, I just went to like a rave for a minute. And then a couple of times he did it, he just went to like the waiting room.
Okay.
So he like shows up in the waiting room, and the machine elves, there's like 3 or 4 of them in there, and they're like, oh, you're here. Like almost confused. And he's like, yeah. And they're like, we can't let you in.
You think maybe that's him not breaking through all the way?
That's the way he described it. He was like, yeah, I guess I didn't do enough. And they were like, we can't let you into the cool place, but like, look at this other stuff. And like, they had like paintings and shit. And they're like, look,
interesting.
They were like, look around here. Like, you're going to look at these things.
It's such a fascinating substance. Like DMT is crazy.
It's already in us. You know what I mean? Like that shit's crazy. You think that's what we see when we die?
So funny enough, actually, when I was 17, I had a cardiac arrest when I took fake acid.
What?
Yeah, I took a bunch of fake acid tabs at my friend's house, started tweaking out, went home, had a cardiac arrest, and like, I don't know if I like lost consciousness or like what happened when I was in the ambulance, but I definitely had like an out of body experience, and it was not like a normal psychedelic experience. And I kept seeing myself through like the eyes of a bunch of different like beings and like people and creatures. So like I remember I saw myself as like a bird flying over like this valley over a bunch of trees. And then I saw myself like as a dude, and I was like sitting in a chair, but I was like tied to a chair or whatever. And then I saw myself like I just kept going through different perspectives of like different creatures, you know, like animals and humans and like from all sorts of like time periods and places and stuff. And it was like a montage of that almost, you know, like that's the only thing that I saw that whole time. I just kept going through different perspectives and feeling all these different like emotions. And to me, after I like came up out of that, I was in the hospital at that point. I was already like in the hospital bed. And before I went into that like kind of phase, I was in the ambulance. So I knew consciously that like there was a gap of time where that's all I remembered, you know? So I always told myself that I thought that was like a DMT trip that I was having.
Whoa.
Like in my brain when I was having a cardiac arrest. Because I didn't like know. It's not like, you know, I was conscious like, oh, fuck. You know?
Yeah,
like I wasn't
yeah.
like aware of what was going on. It wasn't until much later that I had been told what actually was like happening. But also, I'm not certain because it could have also been a psychedelic thing because once I came back to in the hospital, I was still tripping dick.
Whoa.
So
In the hospital.
Yeah. So it was actually really fucked up because I was off fake acid. So I think it was a substance called 25I, but like I'm not certain, you know, I'll never be certain. But 25I was like a synthetic LSD, basically. A synthetic of a synthetic. So like no good.
Yeah. What the fuck?
But I remember they had like, in order to calm me down, they literally had me like strapped to this hospital bed. And it wasn't like, you know, strapped all the way in, but they had like 2 straps over each of my arms, you know, so I couldn't really get up. And they just turned the lights off and like left me in there for hours. So I'm sitting here and I'm looking around and I'm still having visuals in the dark. And I'm seeing like these shapes and these like creatures and faces and shit. And I'm just strapped there in the dark and I can't fucking move. And it sucked.
Did you yell? Like,
No, I mean, I just kind of like took it, you know? I mean, honestly, I will say it was probably better that the lights were off because like my mind was just kind of running wild with like all these shapes and like
what the hell?
colors and shit. But that was like the one experience I had where I was like, yeah, I do subscribe to the whole DMT thing now. Like, I get it. I want to do that later in my life.
Whoa.
You know?
What happened to your heart? Is your heart good?
Yeah. I mean, since then, I've been fine. You know, I go to the doctor, get my checkups, you know? It was literally just that night when I overdosed on whatever the fuck I took, I had a cardiac arrest.
What the fuck?
And I had very low, like, oxygen in my blood or whatever. I remember they had, like... I remember when I came back to, my fingers were really like tingly. It was like my arms had fallen asleep, you know.
But it was your whole body, and
it was like
your
my
heart.
whole body and everything. And I remember like they put the little the monitor that they put on your finger. They put it on my finger, and it fucking hurt like shit because like the pressure it was putting on when my finger was tingling, it was like unbearable.
Whoa!
Like, I was like, oh, dude, it was almost like I stuck my finger in acid. You know, it was just like, oh.
So what about regular acid?
Regular acid's great. When you get real acid, thumbs up for me.
Really?
Yeah.
That ranks high.
Yeah.
And,
I mean...
Any cool experiences? Like...
Oh, all of my most fond, you know, drug memories in general are on acid. All of them. I mean, when I was in high school, we used to eat acid every fucking day. We'd eat it on the way to school at like 6 a.m. We'd eat it right after school. We'd stay
would
up.
trip in school?
Yeah.
Whoa.
It was kind of fun, you know? I mean, looking back at it, would I do it again? Fuck no. Like right now, if it was like, yo, Nick, you got to go to school for 8 hours today, but you can take acid if you want. Like, no dog.
Shot.
I'm good.
Bro.
But it was fun back then.
What kind of experiences? Like anything cool? Anything? Did you see anything interesting? Like...
I never took like super crazy doses. I definitely knew how to control myself when I was going to school. I just wanted to take enough to like have some cool visuals and vibe and be able to zone out and not really pay attention.
Yeah.
You know, because class was like, I've always had ADHD, you know, I've always hated taking my medication for it. So like...
That's the one drug you're like, I'm not taking that.
Bro, I hate Adderall. And none of the other ones work. Like Vyvanse, all the other shit, it does nothing to me.
Really?
So like, yeah, Adderall's the only thing that works and I fucking hate it.
Why?
It just makes me feel like shit. And you know what's weird? It makes me smell bad. So I hate it. It makes me smell bad. It makes my dick shrivel up. And like, I hate that shit, bro.
I did not know it was a side effect.
Yeah, no, I swear to God, it's called turtle dick. So like, Adderall consumers out there, yo, drop a comment. You know what I'm talking about.
That's crazy.
It makes your dick shrivel up. Yeah,
maybe I'm on Adderall right now, bro. I don't know because I got a slight shrivel going.
I mean, bro, just get excited about something.
Yeah,
you know? I mean, if you still are shriveled, then it's probably Adderall.
Yeah,
you know?
bro, that's fucking wild. I did not know that did that. What about nicotine?
You know what's funny? I actually just quit.
Really?
3 weeks ago, I just quit vaping finally. I started smoking cigarettes when I was like 15, and then I kind of bounced between like. I had the big old box mod, you know, when kids like blow clouds back in the day. I had one of those. Dude, I used to go to cloud competitions with one of my homies.
Way.
I didn't partake, but I would go like with him to support him.
Yeah.
Those motherfuckers are
crazy.
Serious. They would be doing all that. They'd be in there for like 4 hours, and the grand prize was like 1 bottle of vape juice.
It's about the love of the game.
You know what I mean? No, like, respect
You're not
that
into
shit.
it for the money. You know what I mean? You just want to be master the craft. But sometimes they are crazy. Like they'll hit the ring and then the other ring inside of it and move it. Yeah, it's kind of fire.
I knew some kids who could do some crazy tricks with that shit.
Yeah, that is wild.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's any other drugs we didn't get to that would rank.
I think we skipped like some opiates, like, you know, oxys, hydros, that kind of category.
Yeah.
Which I think I'd put kind of somewhere in the middle, personally.
Really?
You know? I don't really love or hate opiates. It was a category that I was fortunate to never really like get that hooked on. You know, don't get me wrong. I've done them all. Like I've taken perks before, you know, I've done hydros, I've done oxys, you know, I've done narcos, I've done, you know, little morphine pills that your homies would get from their surgeries and shit. Yeah. And like, it's cool, but it was never like the kind of high that I liked.
Yeah.
You know, I liked more like aggressive highs than that.
Yeah.
You know,
MDMA.
Molly's fun.
Yeah.
Molly's fun. I just like, I think I literally ran out of serotonin in my fucking brain after a certain point.
Yeah, that happens.
It got to the point where I just couldn't roll anymore.
I mean, how frequently were you doing it? Like,
I mean, I was mixing it with my Coke. So like every day.
Every day? For
Almost.
like months?
Yeah, months straight. Almost every day just doing Molly. And like not even, I don't know why the fuck I did it. Cause like I wouldn't actually put enough in my Coke lines to make me roll on its own. I'd just like, oh, this Coke ain't hitting right. I'm gonna sprinkle a little Molly in there. And I think like the extra burn it just gave me that little placebo, that little kick.
Like, oh, it's doing something.
It was better. Yeah, you know? But it was definitely enough to fry all my serotonin.
Yeah. And you feel like you recovered from it?
Took a long time.
Yeah.
It took a long time.
That's the black and white thing you were talking about.
Bro, it was crazy. Like, I remember thinking, when I first got in California sober, I remember thinking, like, there's no way this is what it's like. Like, this is what sober people are like? Like, bro.
Just raw dog in the world.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't imagine it, but it does get better.
Yeah.
It does get a lot better, actually.
So do you think you have any permanent damage from the drug use?
Oh, yeah. I'm kind of retarded. Like, yeah. I mean,
you don't seem retarded. You seem pretty
one
rags
thing that
to me.
I've kind of noticed is I've picked up a bit of a stutter.
Really?
Like over the years. Yeah. And I knew a kid, luckily it's very minor, and I like edit around it in my videos. Sometimes I'll get caught on a word, and I didn't used to do that before I started doing drugs.
You king speech it a little.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I just kind of roll with it. But there was a kid that I went to rehab with who was a Molly addict, and he did way more than me, and he like couldn't finish a sentence.
Yeah.
Like he developed such a bad stutter. So I think that could be part of it. And also sometimes I have like, I don't know if I call them full on acid flashbacks, but I definitely see a lot of tracers. Like when I'm out, especially in bright areas, yeah, it's like a very light acid effect when I look around, you know?
Oh, that's interesting.
And sometimes I have this little twitch too.
I haven't noticed it.
Like,
have you been hitting it while we've been talking?
No, not really. It's like, I don't really consciously hit it, you know, it just kind of like happens, you know, but like every now and then I'll just hit like a, you know, like a little twitch.
Interesting.
But
a little backfire, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
you hear a Honda Civic that'll do that, you know,
Yes.
like a little rice or a little.
I think overall I've been very fortunate though. You know, I haven't gotten a lot of the like real life altering side effects, you know, just a couple minor things I can deal with.
You ever been robbed?
Not like directly. I used to drive around. So I was like the driver for my homie who would serve, and he got robbed in my car one time. But like back then I was so broke, like I never had anything of value for anyone to rob. So they literally just pulled me out of the way. Like they had their guns out and they were going for my homie and they were just like, get the fuck out of the way, Nick. I'm just like, all right, man. Okay, dude.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Did anything happen, or was it like he just
They
gave?
just pistol whipped him and took his shit.
Fuck. Then you had to get back in the car with him and be like,
That happened numerous times. My homie got robbed a bunch, dude. There was one time we were on a 2-man and we went over to this girl's house that like she was really bad. Her friend was really bad. So far out of our league, I was amazed that we even were invited to this crib at this point. So it was like, we were so excited. We were like, yo, listen, we have to nail it. Like, we got to, be cool, bring the good drugs. If they want them, we got them type shit, And my friend Ashton, his dumb ass, he's like, yo, I have a serve. Do you mind if this guy comes over real quick and like grabs? Trying to be cool, show the girls like, yeah, I sell drugs, that kind of thing. So he invites this guy over thinking it's just going to be a quick serve. And it turns out that it's this group that just came from a party that got busted. I guess the cops had just like showed up at this other party that was a town over. Fucking 20 people show up. And mind you, this girl's house has like cameras in it and stuff. It's just us 4 here, right? And like everything's chill, we're not doing anything that crazy. We're just like drinking a little bit, chatting, All of a sudden 20 people are on her fucking porch. And my homie opens the door and they just start coming in. So she's like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on? Who are these people? Get the fuck out of here. And a couple of the dudes who showed up to grab off my friend, they're asking him what he's got, and he's got a whole bunch of shit. He's got like ketamine, he's got acid with him, he's got a whole bunch of Zans, the whole shebang. And they asked him to go in the bathroom to do the serve. And I knew then and there, like, shit was not going to end well, you don't need to be in the bathroom. But he was kind of stupid with that stuff, he was very trusting. He was a nice guy. So he goes in the bathroom with them. And I'm standing outside of the door kind of waiting because I knew, like, something's not right, like there's 3 dudes in the bathroom and it's just my homie. Like, you don't need to be there, So kind of waiting by the door, and all of a sudden I hear a bunch of loud bangs and they start kind of yelling at each other. They pistol whipped my homie and took everything he had. They ran his pockets, they took his wallet, they took all his drugs, everything he had, his weed. They left him with his phone, but like they took everything of notable value that he had. Opened the closet door and just ran out of the house, and 2 of them like still had their guns and shit. So my homie runs out and he's telling me, he's like, yo, like we gotta chase him. I'm like, yo, like, what do you want me to do, man? Like, maybe you should chill out. And I told him, I was like, yo, like, calm down. Like, we can't chase them right now. And they just ran out of the house and dipped. And mind you, this girl whose house it is, who were originally, trying to get to know a little better, is like screaming, crying.
Yeah.
Like, she is traumatized. She's like, get out of my house. Like, get the fuck out. Like, I can't believe you brought this shit to my house. So she kicks us out. We get the fuck out of there. Later that night, I remember I sent her a message apologizing. I was like, yo, we're so sorry. Like, we'd love to make it up to you. Kind of thing. And meanwhile, my homie's sitting there and he's like, yo, we got to get him back. Like, we got to go get my shit back. And like, we don't have guns, bro. Like,
what are you gonna do?
None of us have guns.
Hey, can you give us back our drugs you took from us? Like, what the fuck? Like,
we just went and like fucked up the kid. So we knew who one of them was, obviously, because someone had to show up and come in contact. Yeah. So we knew who one of them was, and we went to his house and just fucked up the car that was in the driveway, which, come to find out, was his mom's car. So we felt really bad about. It was super, super bad. I'm so sorry. Homie's mom out there. I'm not going to say the real name.
That's crazy.
I'm so sorry, man.
But you never sold drugs or anything. You were just like,
I was never a drug dealer. Like, I sold to my friends, I
flip
sold
it
like
what
break
you had.
even on a bag,
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I was never like the plug or anything.
that's crazy.
There was a brief period, I was on probation in 2017, and I was ordering weed on the deep web, and I couldn't smoke it because I was getting drug tested once a month, so I could only do the harder drugs that lasted my system last. So like, I was only doing Xanax and like only taking Molly, and I wasn't smoking weed. And during that time, I would get like really cheap, shitty weed off the deep web. And that was like a brief period where I was a bit of a weed man. And then the moment I got off probation, I blew all the money and went back to
Immediately.
business as usual.
So then what got you LA sober?
I remember it was towards the end of 2021. It was like fall. And there was just one day where I was sitting at my house coked up, and like, I was just having these real bad bouts of paranoia and like just tweaking. And I was at the point where like, bro, I would get geeked up and just go look through my blinds and shit and like just peer out and think like, yo, like someone's going to come seize my fucking deep web pack, you know? Because at this point, my coke man was in jail. So I was getting my blow on the internet. I was getting my blow on the deep web. So like I was tweaking about that. I was like, yo, like I was constantly just paranoid, like someone's going to come to my house. Someone's going to know I'm ordering coke. Maybe this coke is fent, you know? At that point, that was like a valid concern.
Yeah.
I didn't know where this was really coming from, you know? So like, I was really paranoid. And one day I got so geeked up that I was having these heart palpitations and I was cold sweating. And I remember I thought that I was like about to have a heart attack. I remember I like ripped all my clothes off. I ran out on my porch and I'm standing there cold sweating at like 8 a.m. in my boxers, bro. And I'm sitting there and I'm just breathing because the outside fresh air is the only thing that would like calm me down. And I was just like, I had this moment. I was just like, bro, I can't do this anymore. Like, I don't want to, this isn't fun, you know? And like, it hadn't been fun for a while at that point, but like, I just had like, in that moment, it just like clicked. It was like, I don't want to fucking live like this anymore, you know? Like, this isn't partying even, you know? This hasn't been partying for a while. It's just like, I'm getting high because my brain keeps telling me to, and then I regret it the moment I do a line. Whoa. You know, I would like do a line because I was doing such fat fucking amounts at this point. You know, my tolerance was so cranked up that I would do a fat line that I'd be sitting there scared, like, oh, is it too fat? Like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. My heart rate's going up. Oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, you know?
Every one you were like, this is the last
Every single
one.
line, yeah. And then 5 minutes later, I'd do another line. I'm, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. Was that line too fat? Oh fuck, my heart rate's going up. Oh shit, I'm fucking tweaking, dude. I'm cold sweating. Let me take my hoodie off, you know? So I was just fucking twitching. I was like, bro, I can't live like this anymore. And I cold turkeyed that fucking day. Like that day I flushed all my blow. I fucking cold turkeyed. I smoked an aggressive amount of weed for like months straight and I just brute forced it. Wow. Like people always ask me, they're like, how would you really quit coke? Because they don't believe me when I say I just cold turkeyed. But it's like, I didn't just consciously in my brain tell myself to cold turkey. I snapped, you know? And
do you hang with people that still do blow? Like,
yeah.
Oh, so it's around you.
For sure. Yeah. Some of my good hometown friends are still fucking raging cokeheads.
And you're still able to keep it solid.
I've dabbled a couple times since. You know, I'll admit nobody's perfect. You know? But I've taken my bumps and been able to like. So I've done it 3 times since fall 2021. And all 3 of those times, you know, it's been a while now. It's been over a year now since the last little dabble. But I was able to go home and like not, you know, buy a bag and take it and, you know, hit someone up for a bag. So it's something that I think I've kind of mastered being around at this point. You know, I won't say I moved on. I don't think you ever move on from that kind of thing. It's like a day to day, like coke today, but
wow. And all of this crazy shit that you got into, you were never afraid, like, oh, the police are going to get me. Like, obviously outside the paranoia, which is kind of drug induced, but like, oh, like I'm going to get caught, I'm going to OD, I'm going to do fent, I'm going to, you know, get shot, going to get robbed.
I just never considered long-term implications of anything I was doing at that point in my life. You know, it was a very short-sighted lifestyle of like, all right, how am I having fun today? Well, obviously that I'm getting high, you know? All right, how am I getting high today? I don't have money. All right, where are we hitting a lick?
Did you care? Did you think you were going to live a long time? Like,
no.
Did you think you were going to die young?
100%.
Oh, really?
100%.
You actually had that in your mind. You're like, yeah, I'll probably die.
Yeah, I was like very convinced of that. And it was something that me and my friends would like joke about very morbidly, you know? And like my best friend died when we were 17, you know? He OD'd in his sleep. So it was something like we'd very morbidly joke about and be like, yeah, you know, 25 will probably kick the can, you know? Like 22 will probably kick the can. Let's just fucking get lit, you know? And it was something like, I don't know. It's like, I think my adolescent brain, I didn't have sober time to ever think about the consequences of my actions because I was just constantly on a rotation of being so fucking high.
Yeah.
So I never stopped to think like, how could this affect me long term? You know, I was just like, I'll deal with that later.
How old are you now?
I'm 25.
Nice.
So
you made it.
Yep. Made it so far.
Wow.
Yep.
Dude. And where did this honesty come from? Like just being so candid about the fucked up shit you did, like the crazy stuff you did, and then being so public about it.
I don't know. I mean, for me, I get a lot of messages from viewers that tell me like, oh, you encourage me to like quit this, or you encourage me to stay away from this, or like your videos help me, you know, understand the dangers of this. And like, that kind of shit means a lot to me, you know? And I don't have a problem talking about my experiences or like who I am as a person. I'm a pretty open book, you know? When I like sit down and like make my videos, you know, I don't really view it as like I'm talking to one person. Like I'm just kind of talking into my mic. So I just say whatever I want and then never listen to it back. You know, like just post that shit.
But I think that's the most effective thing though, because your honesty cuts through. You know what I mean? Like the people that I've taken advice from that have been helpful in my life have always been people that have done bad shit or like been through some shit. Like it's like a cop that's never done anything that's like, hey, don't do drugs, and no one's gonna fucking listen. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, DARE program didn't work.
Yeah, of course. But like, you need someone that's like, yo, I've done everything, and this stuff, don't do it. It's not good. It'll fuck you up. It'll ruin your life. It'll make you feel bad. This stuff, if you do it responsibly, you're probably fine. This stuff, go crazy with. And I think it's like the honesty that cuts through with all your shit that I think is like super important. I think it's like really helpful. Yeah. Like for people that don't do drugs like me, that are just curious, and then people that are probably fucking addicted, listening, being like, oh wow, I could just brute force it and just like smoke and jerk off and be fine. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you know what I mean? It's different for everybody, you know, but like I just try to give people a real look at what it's like and not like fuck around, you know, like at the end of the day, I don't try to push people a certain way with my content. I just tell them how it is for me. Yeah. Like if you want to do your drugs, do your fucking drugs, bro. I'm not going to tell you to get sober. Yeah. You know, like you should get sober, but like I'm not going to force you, you know?
Yeah. Have your parents come around since like
100%.
100%. And what did that look like?
I mean, when I was younger, I had a terrible relationship with like my whole family, especially my mom and my dad. My dad, I haven't really come around with, but my mom is like very supportive of everything I'm doing now. When I was younger, she did not like the YouTube thing. I remember I was working, I was doing like, I was helping run the books at a Lexus dealership. So I was doing like cashiering, but also doing like the balance sheets at the end of the day. And I quit that job to pursue YouTube, but I was only making $300 a month at that point. But like, I told my mom, I was like, listen, like, let me cook. Let me do this for a couple of years and I'll figure it out.
And you're probably at that point like 18.
Yeah, she hated it because I just stayed home and got high all day, you know, and then went out and fucking partied and came home and just uploaded enough to get another YouTube check to go out and spend it all on getting high. Yeah. So she hated it first, but then once she kicked me out of her house and got some time on her own, you know, and I went and figured out my shit, she came around to it and supported it.
Were you surprised?
Kind of, yeah, you know? I mean, I think like I knew that once I got out of her fucking hair that things would get better, you know? But I was very surprised at like how much of a 180 she took. Like she's very supportive of everything I do now, you know, like she always asks me like, oh, how's the content? Like, how's the podcast? You know, how's LA? All that stuff. So she's very down for it now.
Wow.
But,
that's awesome. That's cool.
She always wanted me to like go to college and shit when I was younger. And I'm probably the only person in my family that like hasn't gotten a college degree in a long, like generations.
But how many people in your family like run their own business?
A couple, not like my aunt and my uncle have their own business, and that's about it. All the rest of them are like career people. Yep, and me. Yeah. So
I mean, that's wild. That's really cool that they came around.
Yeah.
Do you ever look back on how they raised you and be like, yeah, I could have done with like a little discipline, or do you think you would have not given a fuck anyway?
I'm torn on that because part of me like the way that in the future, like if I have kids, the way that I'm going to discipline them, like if let's say a little V2 of me popped out and did all the same shit that I did, I'm handling that way differently than my parents did.
What would you do?
I'd probably be kind of a hard ass, you know, I'd probably be pretty strict because I see how it turned out, you know, and I got very, very lucky to be in the position I'm in. You know, I got very lucky to make it out of that situation relatively intact.
Yeah,
you know?
a little twitch here and there. Is fine.
Yeah. A little twitch, a little starter. We'll fucking deal with that shit. You know, I got very lucky to make it out of that situation. And I think like my parents were a little too loose with me. Like they gave me a little too much freedom, you know, from a little too young of an age.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I was just up and at them.
Yeah.
You know?
And you were like, how far can I push it?
Yeah, and like me, bro, I'm not gonna lie, I'd probably have my kid's location. I'd be on that shit. I'd be tracking them, Life 360 app, all that shit. My parents had none of that.
But your kids will also believe you. You know what I mean? If your kids are like fucking around, like doing drugs, you can be like, yo, what are you doing?
Yeah,
and they can tell you, and you can be like, yo, check out my video on this drug. You know what I mean?
I hope they're down to tell me. That's you know.
Yeah.
I hope they're down to tell
you
me.
create that environment, you know what I mean? Yep. Like if you're like a reasonable dude, you're like, oh, you're smoking weed, you're 17, it's probably fine. You know what I mean? But like if they're doing fucking 2C and they're 12, be like, all right, let's look into this. You know what I mean? Like,
I'll be so proud if my kid brings home some gas. Like the first day he brings home some fucking pack, I'm gonna be like, son, you can keep this one.
That's when you're gonna discipline him though. If he brings trash,
if he brings some fucking Reggie,
yo, in the corner.
He's learning that day.
Yeah, 10 licks,
He's fucking
bro.
learning that
you
day.
gotta spank. You gotta spank him, bro. 17 years old. Yo, what did I tell you?
Yeah.
That's crazy. And if you had to look back, like in full honesty, do you think when you first started doing drugs, there was anything you were like compensating for, like trying to cover up? Or you
100%. 100%. Insecurity, I wanted to like fit in.
Yeah.
100%. It was a thing where like, my friends at that point were kind of all like growing up a little bit. It was a weird transitionary period with my friend group. And like all of a sudden I met these couple dudes in my new classes who smoked weed and drank liquor in the parking lot before homecoming. And like, they wanted me to come do that. And like, they had a reputation, you know, all the other kids I knew, like knew them as the kids that do that. And I was like, damn, that sounds kind of fucking lit.
Yeah.
You know, I want to do that. And it gave me it gave me like a sense of belonging. To me, it was like joining a club. You know, it's like some kids join like fucking the football team. Some kids join like chess club. I joined the fucking liquor club.
Yeah.
You know?
And then you get to prove yourself within the club by being like, yeah, I'm going to go even harder.
It's hard.
Like, who is it? I think it's Chappelle, like the white guy in the gang. Like the white guy that hangs with a bunch of black dudes. Like, that's the craziest motherfucker.
It was so funny. So when I would go over to my buddy's house to buy weed, I would usually be, not always, but I'd usually be the only white guy there. And they'd all call me white boy. And it was so funny because like on paper, it was the most ragtag mix of people. We had like this 35-year-old cab driver from the south side of Chicago who would give me rides home and let me smoke blunts in the back of his taxi, like his marked taxi and shit. And like, it was just the most ragtag. Like we had gangbangers in there mixed with like my ass. And I just got done playing World of Warcraft and I'm here to buy a gram, you know? It was just the most... Drugs bring the most interesting groups of people together.
Yeah.
You know?
And do you still keep in touch with like any of like the crazy characters from back in the day?
For sure. Not all of them. A lot of them like are still doing their thing, you know, gotta let them crash out, do their shit.
Yeah.
But I definitely am in touch with a lot of my friends from back in the day who are doing a lot better than they used to be.
That's cool.
Like my other buddy who smoked crack, he's just chilling now, you know, grinding his job, got his little crib, you know, his life's on track.
Wow.
So 2 of the 3 crack boys are good.
There you go. Yeah, that's good odds. You know what I mean?
I know, right?
66% chance you'll be fine.
Dude, anything over 50 is gambler's odds. You know, that's a good fucking number.
Bro, you're a fascinating human being. I'll be honest.
I appreciate that.
It's like, I like your story is wild. The way everything ties together, like the shit you've been through, and then now running your own channel, running your own business, and like actually making real money and like living is like an insane 180. And you seem really put together right now. You know what I mean? Like
I'm grateful to be where I am.
Yeah, genuinely. Like you're an interesting guy. You're an interesting dude.
That.
I want to do this again, and then I just want to go into conspiracies and aliens and talk about random shit.
I'm super down. You know who I actually had on, speaking of conspiracies, I had on my show recently? David Packhouse. I saw you talk to him too.
David's a man.
I was watching your interview with him to like pregame before mine, you know, learn a little more about him. I like the way you did that, by the way.
Yeah, it was fun.
The way you like, you had him like show you how to do it and everything. That was a good angle.
Yeah, poor dude. He was like, I didn't do this. And I was like, yeah, I know. He's like, I'm not a criminal. I was like, yeah, I get it. But if I wanted to, you know what I mean? I don't think you knew I was going to do that, but it turned out pretty good.
You had to tiptoe so carefully.
Yeah. But dude, this has been really fun. I would love to do this again and just go off on all the weird shit in the world.
100%.
But this is a great first date.
You know what would be a fun episode? Me, you, and Yola. Yo, that would be a fun
I would
one.
love to link with him for real.
Dude.
he seems like the homie.
Dude, I hope you line that up. We'll get that together.
That'd be awesome.
Yep.
And then maybe I'll smoke, dude. Maybe I'll take a couple puffs.
Oh my.
But if I start tweaking, you got to calm me down, okay?
We got you, bro. Don't even worry about it, dude.
Okay.
We'll bring all the fucking goodies, dude. We'll bring the nice, good water, you know. We'll bring the casual, you know, chill strains for you. You'll be good.
My
You'll
man.
be good.
Thank you, brother.
Fucking locked in. Yo, thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, of course,
I really
bro.
enjoyed it.
Let's go get pizza.
Yeah, let's fucking get it.